This is Sybert signing into this live stream. Thank you all very much for joining me. We have got some exciting stuff to take a look at today. First of all, we're going to be jumping into 3 Kane's Wrath games, and today's stream is a little bit of a tech demo. It's a little bit of a house of cards that I have constructed, a technical house of cards that I am just very worried is going to collapse in the middle of the stream. Unlike today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, you can use my code and my link in the description to get 83% off and 3 months free. We'll be talking about them a little bit later, but this house of cards. A couple of months ago, I introduced the on-screen income for the players. You guys probably have noticed this if you come from a game that's remotely modern, like StarCraft 2 or League of Legends, Dota, any other game basically. You will notice that there is a ton of on-screen information, and you look at Command & Conquer, and we just don't have that, and that's because it wasn't built. But I and a modder came up with this method of reading the income and then displaying it live so that you can see what the player's income is at that current moment. It wasn't perfect. It had some bugs, and I still have not been able to fix those bugs, but I have added on to it. So we have some new elements to the UI, which will hopefully make your viewing experience a bit better. We can't fix the income, as far as I know. It has something to do with, I think, Tiberium silos, because I've noticed that the income is more accurate on Scrin players than it is on GDI and Nod, and I don't know why. But I do know that we have some new features that will hopefully help alleviate that. You're going to be able to see the total income gathered by each player, and I should actually state, this is probably not something that is going to make an appearance in regular videos. It took a very long time to get set up. It was just literally hours this morning of troubleshooting. I ran into some problems that I didn't think I would have, and that doesn't count. That doesn't account for the research, the R&D that I put into this before this stream. So that's why you're seeing it today, and that is thanks to Surfshark, because I was able to put in the extra time, not do regular work, and instead work on this project due to Surfshark sponsorship. So a big thanks to them, but also we have 3 games, and if we're lucky, we've got a couple of team games to follow up after that. The 3 1v1s will all have the new UI, the new info. The team games will not. It is just way too much to try and get all of the things. I think one of the games we have today is has 8 players in it, and it's just way too much time to put all of that together. So we have ourselves some hopefully fun features. Hopefully you guys will watch this and be like, oh, yeah, that does make the viewing experience slightly better. And the unfortunate thing that when you're working with a game that's 14 years old, that was rushed through development by its publisher, you kind of get left with some things that are difficult to work with. And that's why I have this house of cards that I have built up for this stream very specifically, and we are going to be getting into the game. So our first game is going to be Raider versus Drive on the map Tiki Turmoil. Thank you all very much for joining me for this stream. Thank you all very much for tuning in. And of course, if you're watching the VOD, well, hopefully you've already figured out that there should be timestamps in the description so that you can go right to the point where the games actually start. Welcome to Tiki Turmoil for game number 1, where we find out if the House of Cards stands or begins to crumble. In the north, as the blue nod, this is Raider. And in the south, playing as the green steel talons, this is Drive. This is where we see if everything just crumbles. Look at that, Raider Drive. We've got the power on display. We have got the total number of structures on display. We have got the total number of units on display. And then we, of course, have how much they have gathered, how much Tiberium has come into their bank account. So now between the total income gathered and how much they currently have in their bank account, which is the bigger number, hopefully we can kind of put those two numbers together and figure out how much roughly they've spent. That would be another stat to potentially add on, because the game does track how much each player is spending, how much they're gathering, how much they're spending, what their current income is, and so we get to see all of that. I also tried to track harvesters, because I think it was Masterleaf. A couple of years he pointed out, he was like, actually, there was this keyboard that was sold as a promotional product alongside Tib Wars, and it had physically on it a little harvester counter screen. It had a little screen at the top of the keyboard that would count how many harvesters you had. And that's such a weird and specific feature to have, but it does mean that the game is counting how many harvesters you have, because it has to pass that along to this keyboard. By the way, things are looking pretty normal for both players. I don't want to get totally distracted. This is an actual game that someone sent in. It's Drive versus Raider. Raider I'm not super familiar with, but it is going to be Nod versus Steel Talons, and I think Drive is probably the overdog in this situation, but I mean, he's also playing Steel Talons, so he's probably playing random. This might have been a random v random matchup, and it's just a generally accepted fact, or a generally accepted opinion, that Steel Talons is a weaker faction than Nod. So anyways, I was trying to track harvesters as well. As it turns out, there's no way to track an arbitrary player's harvesters. So you can track your harvesters, but you can't necessarily track, like, player number 3, which in this case, Drive is actually the third player in the game, because there's some observers in this match as well. We got an operations center at the natural expansion from Raider. So he's gone for the expand, he's gone for the expansion. Drive, on the other hand, sitting there still at, well, only like 3 harvesters. He still hasn't dropped his refinery at his natural, and he's got nothing queued up as well. So Drive is really hoping that this Rocket Squad MRT rush is going to do something for him, but it does look like it has been spotted. A couple of pit bulls going to be showing up to the natural expansion, and they were expecting that there's going to be a harvester here. What do they find? They find an operations center and a laser turret, a couple of Scorpion tanks coming in from the north, and that is what Drive is going to find. He might be able to get the operations center, which is a good get. It does slow down the tech, but, I mean, at this point, your opponent is probably going for a refinery anyways. They are going to have to rebuild that tech. It is annoying. He's going to get a couple of pit bulls on exit, so there is going to be a little bit of payback there for Raider, but both players super delaying their natural expansion economy and instead going for tech. Raider actually rebuilding his tech. He wants to get that before his third refinery very big time, and that might be because he is super worried about some kind of strike. I mean, he dropped the SAM site. I'm curious if he's going to drop a second, which this is one of those things where the Nod players' structures, as you can see, it's 17-7. I believe a turret counts as 4. Hub, 1, 2, 3. So it's like Nod structures can go absolutely insane. So if you see the Nod structures looking like a million, it doesn't mean that that player is ahead. It just might mean that they have a bunch of turrets placed down. And Shredder turrets, you know, they're relatively cheap. It doesn't necessarily mean he spent a bunch of cash on them either. All right. This is flying MRTs against a Nod player who has SAM sites. We'll see if it's going to work out. SAM sites do deploy. They managed to tag one of the MRTs. The repair drone's not caught up yet, and the Vox transport will now get its repairs. Meanwhile, Orchestrite comes in, takes out a couple of the turrets, but misses most of the tags. Harvesters will be protected. The pit bulls are not going to be stopped by the SAM sites, but the MRTs will. They're going to have to run away. One refinery gets sold off, and the pit bulls now getting taken down by the attack bikes one by one. The Harvesters so far not taking a lot of losses. The trade is going to be pit bulls versus attack bikes. The MRTs have circled around to the middle of the map. They need to get those repairs and then maybe put on some pressure because Drive still doesn't have a natural expansion. At this point, he is basically all in with this play. I probably should have double-checked that all of these games were going to be longers. I didn't want to do like this whole setup and everything and then have it be a 5-minute game. I really should have checked that before going into this stream. But hopefully, Drive is able to make something happen. Right now his income is pretty much hitting the floor. He's getting outpaced in total income gathered by about 10 grand by our new blue Nod player. He is going to be able to take down that Tib spike, knocking off 10 credits a second and bringing himself a little bit closer. And of course, this is is Drive, so don't count him out just yet. MRT is going to head north. They might be able to pick off a couple of these bikes. If they kite and stay on the edge, they can trade against the bikes just fine with the repair. But so far, the bikes have basically been the only ones getting attacks off. Fortunately, the MRTs can repair, and it's going to be Steel Talons versus Nod as we head towards the late game. I don't want to say it's all down to the one-clicks, but one-clicks are pretty strong. We'll see. Maybe Steel Talons. They're going to have something, maybe a lot of behemoths to even the odds. But we're heading into a game where the Nod player has a big income advantage, has been able to gather a lot more than the GDI or the Steel Talons player. Orchestrike coming in. Tags in the middle of the field. I don't think he actually did very much to the Harvesters at all. He did maybe get a little bit of health off of one Harvester, but not all that much. Second Refinery finally up. Of course, we had a fast Tier 2, although it does look like that... Has that been sold off? Yeah, the command post is gone. So Drive builds and then sells off the command post after getting that airfield. It is going to be low power mode. All right, the numbers are kind of running into the slash mark there. We did see for a moment our Nod player was on low power mode, but he's got himself back up. He's got 130. Wow, he's getting really close there once again. All right, so like I said, it's a bit of a house of cards. We're going to have to adjust the text in OBS after the game. Venoms to be able to chase down those MRTs. Not a bad plan. No laser capacitors have been started at this point. MRTs still, all 5 of them from earlier on in this game. And I mean, they're not doing a lot of damage, but that's good survivability. They are a constant threat, which means third base, Harvesters, all of these things could be put pressure on. Could have a bit of pressure put on them by these MRTs, unless the Venoms and the bikes swing in here and knock them down. Mines from earlier still buying a little bit of time for Drive. His second War Factory is up. This is a very sluggish game from Drive. He's going to try and make up for it with pure Titan numbers. He's got a massive Titan army, and he's going to be losing a Harvester as well. Unfortunately for Drive, gets a Harvester nuked there. Back on the north side, a couple of Titans going to be moving in. They might get lucky with a couple of stealth Harvester crushes. Defensive tower is here as well for Drive, but it gets knocked down by Raider. Raider staying active on the map, trying to pursue down those MRTs, leaving a bit of an opening in his back door, but honestly, these Titans haven't done all that much against Raider. Titans at the front line, they get cleaned up. Way too many bikes here. Spectre's now out on the field as well. And Drive feels like the third base is going to be his time to pull ahead. MCV is already halfway there for Raider. He might kind of throw out his refineries in a little bit of a long-distance position. Tier 3, but I'm not sure that we've actually seen the Tier 4 just yet for Raider. No one-clicks quite yet. Scorpion tanks take down the Tibbs bike. This is an almost get one of everything build from Raider. He's got Venoms, he's got Scorpions, he's got bikes, militants, Black Hand, beam cannon, Spectres. I guess he's missing a couple of Raiders, maybe some avatars for the late game, but he's got just about one of everything else. Another Orca Strike coming in. A little bit random. It is easily avoided by Raider. Big whiff. MRTs have gone back to the ground, so the fun is over. The MRTs are no longer flying around, causing havoc. Frontline getting pushed forward. Harvesters from Raider getting a lot of work done because they're stealth, not necessarily because of anything else. Railguns have finished up, and Drive is going to be going for the big engagement here. Venom's in the sky on Overwatch, but the beam cannon's going to be burning down those Titans one by one, hoping to take down the Mammoths as well. As soon as the Railguns close in, they'll be able to level this Nod army. but the Spectres are going to hope that that doesn't actually happen. Titans falling one by one. The bikes on the north side getting a bit of a surprise, getting a couple of shots in there as the Mammoth Tanks are wasting their time shooting the Venoms, and the Titans are trying to keep the front line moving forward. There's only a couple of Titans left against the Avatars, against the Obelisks, and against the Spectres, and Drive turns around. He's going to lose almost everything else on exit. A couple of Titans don't actually get the plan to turn around, and the Mammoth Tank goes down as well. Another Titan will fall on exit. Unfortunately for Drive, he loses almost everything there. He does get an amazing MCV position for the late game. He does manage to get a refinery on the low ground, so he's going to have very close access to that blue Tiberium, but the Redeemer is out. This is a Nod player who so far has been working with no one-clicks. Not even like a mine drop. I don't think we've even seen a mine drop from the airfield. It's just been straight units. Those beam cannons, those Spectres doing big work in that last battle and almost getting overwhelmed by the Steel Talons firepower of Drive, but never quite falling. The income difference between these two players has evened up quite a bit. Drive lagging behind by like 10 grand in the first part of the match, but that's much, much closer now. And there's a little bit of cash in the bank. They're both keeping their macro on point, keeping their income relatively low. Command Post is back up, and Drive, he got railguns, he got Mammoth Tanks, so he did get the Tier 3, but it looks like he might be worried about getting some aircraft, or maybe he wants to build a bunch of SAM site or AA batteries. We'll see. It could be a double airfield switch, kind of late game with the blue Tiberium. That is something that could potentially work. He didn't get a lot of use out of his first airfield, so I'm not sure how well it's going to work against this Nod player who's built as many bikes as we have seen. Mammoth Tanks. Oh, these Harvesters. I think they're auto-routing in some weird ways. I don't know why that one is going all the way along the north side of the canyon. He's about to get popped by those attack bikes. And the unfortunate thing for Drive is that this also leaves his main and his natural pretty exposed and open. He is redirecting pretty much all of his forces to the northern part of the game. Tibcore bikes have now been upgraded. Airfield does get laser fenced. And I should mention, this is 1.02 plus R19J. This is the most recent version of the 1.02 plus community patch. In fact, all of the games we see today will be, unless we get to the last game of the day, which is going to be a 1.02 game, but on a new map, on a community-made map. So we'll see if that one's a little bit weird. But for now, everything else will be 1.02 plus R19J, which is the same patch as the Winter Championship. Same balance, same all of the bug fixes, you know, everything like the laser fences disappearing and actually not being active anymore. That's one of those things that was fixed in, I believe, R19. Or is it R20? What is the current version? I think it's R19 or R20, but Scout comes in. Doesn't actually see very much. Spectres clean up the refinery on the low ground, I think. Are we still seeing no one-clicks from this? Okay, no. He does have Vapor Bomb coming in. Would be kind of funny. No, Mine Drop. It would be kind of funny if he dropped Seed Tiberium on his opponent's field. Drive has certainly equalized almost every aspect of this game, but there we go. There's the one-clicks coming in. Big damage on 3 Harvesters as well. Takes out the refinery, big damage on the Harvesters, and then he's going to try and finish them off with the Vein Detonation. Gets a bit of the army, gets a bit of the Harvesters as well. And the Mine Drop is going to be slowing down Drive's army for just a moment. Drive has got his second chance. He has got a second opportunity to take down Raider. This is one of those situations where if Drive had opened normally, instead of opening with the MRTs, he probably would have been in a much better position at this point in the game. One Behemoth goes down. Where's the Redeemer? Where is this? He's launching it on the Avatars. That means the Redeemer is potentially completely free during this, but he will be able to get a couple of shots against these Avatars for free. The EMP locking them down. Shockwave Artillery has found its mark, but the Spectres continue to rain down fire from afar, and Drive keeping the front line moving forward. But where is this Redeemer? Where is Raider? Okay, he is. He's going to cross-map. Double Tibcore Stealth Tank and a Redeemer, and truly Drive can do literally nothing about this. He is going to try and go for the base trade. He is going to try and go for his opponent's main, and Mammoth Tanks are here. Railguns long ago were upgraded, so the Behemoths as well are going to make short work of this base. Spectre Artillery will be able to get a couple of good shots off, and might actually be able to clean up a couple of these Mammoth Tanks, but they're actually just wasting their shots on Riflemen as the Mammoth Tanks draw closer and closer. This is 5 Spectres that are about to get blasted by these Mammoths, and goodbye to 2 of the Spectres. The third one very low on health, and Drive completely wiping out the right side of the map, but at the same time, his own left side of the map getting cleaned up. And this is going to be a Nod player with a Redeemer and a couple of Stealth Tanks versus a super huge GDI army. The Mammoth Tanks... What actually happened to the Mammoth Tanks? We look away for 1 second, and now it's only Behemoths out on the field. The Mammoth Tanks have all gotten cleaned up, which means the Behemoths are completely vulnerable. Raid Shen is going to be firing off on the other side of the map. It's going to be a couple of rocket squads trying to close the distance. They have already been given that attack command, and the Grenadier is going to be doing a little bit of damage to the other infantry, but not all that much. Behemoth's going to be able to clear out the last couple of these buildings, but they won't be able to escape the rocket squads. Too many rockets, and it's going to be a trade of Behemoths, and there's still more Nod standing, but there's no more Harvesters. Raider is finding the one weakness that Drive had, his back door, and he has exploited it all the way from the south to the north. Every Harvester getting locked down. One by one, the Harvesters eliminated by the Tib Core Stealth Tanks. And the GG gets called. Drive will be calling it quits right there. In the end, losing out some of that income. But after 17 minutes and a rocky start, Drive is going to tap out of this game. Raider gets a win. Solid Nod play. Not a huge reliance on those one clicks. Yeah, we saw them a little bit at the end, but the fact that he waited as long as he did, he wasn't rushing to them. He wasn't thinking my only chance of beating Drive is to click him and then hope he makes some more mistakes. He played that one out very solid. Just a nice game from Raider, and a bit of a mismatch, a bit of a bad performance from Drive. He was goofing a little bit with that opening strategy, and it didn't work out. He paid the price. And that's it. Game number 1 locked and loaded. So we have another game to get to, but it is going to take a little bit of time to set up. I have to switch everything over for this replay, so it'll be a minute before we get into our next match. Once again, we're taking a look at subscriber replays today. It is just 3 1v1s, and then we'll see if we get to some additional games as well. We got some team games on the docket, but today I really wanted to showcase the 1v1s because that is where this UI actually works. And I don't have to try and set it up for, like, way too many players. Looks like everyone has been enjoying the UI. And also, today's stream was, of course, sponsored by Surfshark VPN. You can check out the link in the description for 83% off and 3 extra months with my code Sybert. Would very much appreciate it. The sponsorship has allowed me to spend extra time doing this kind of stuff instead of doing regular work. So it's pretty cool to be able to spend some time on a Kane's Wrath project and on a Command & Conquer project instead of having to do other things. How long have I been casting Command & Conquer? I mean, you could just look at my oldest video, which is, I think, from 2012, which would make this my 11-year anniversary, but I did take a 4.5-year break in the middle there. So I will let you decide how you want to divide that up. But there was an 11-year break in there, or not an 11-year break. There was a 4.5-year break. I don't know if that should count. I was kind of casting StarCraft at the time, but not necessarily a lot. I was casting StarCraft occasionally. during that time. And then I guess not really at the end. I guess there were a couple of years where I was literally not casting anything. I wasn't doing any kind of esports related stuff. Actually, I wasn't even really doing any esports work. Like when I'm not working on Kane's Wrath, I normally, or when I'm not working on Command & Conquer stuff, I'm normally, you know, doing video production, businessy stuff. You know, it's usually boring, like corporate stuff. But sometimes it's like an exciting commercial or feature film or TV show or something. But yeah, because there was a couple of years there where I didn't even do any esports work. And in the last year, I've done some more esports work. Some, like, people sometimes want stream assets or overlays. I can make animations for them. Or like what I do with the production company Waveform, where I help them produce shows. And so I'll come in and do a portion of the producing. No, I never casted for competitions like DreamHack. No, I never got hired as a StarCraft 2 commentator. I did cast some ASL, which was streaming on a service called Ding It, and the numbers that we allegedly pulled on Ding It were very, very good, but no one believed the Ding It numbers. So it was like we had a lot of views compared to regular like StarCraft broadcasts at the time, but everyone was like, yeah, there's no way those views are real. So no legitimate call to anything in like a professional space on StarCraft. All right, let's get this next game set up. Like I said, we got a little bit of a house of cards that we are hanging out with today. And, well, I must not be very clever because the chat bot is not working at all. So let me pop over and grab a link for you guys. So yeah, you can use my code Sybert. I tried to get code BERT, but I couldn't. So I got code Sybert, but surfshark.deals/Sybert. Use the code Sybert for 83% off. We'll be talking about Surfshark a little bit later. But as I said, just like with the Blues and Cloud versus Kay and Kyle show match, the sponsor there allowed me to do something that I wouldn't have been able to do. I wouldn't have had the time. I wouldn't have the ability to make that kind of a show match happen. And same thing here. So big thanks to them. But we will see what is going to happen in this game on Airport Escape. Welcome to game number 2. Our first game, well, it was a little bit action-packed. It was a little bit exciting. And once again, we're hoping that the House of Cards sticks together and that nothing breaks. Because on the left side, playing the pink GDI, this is BartJones. And on the right side, playing as the blue Marked of Kane, give it up for AssassinSpy. All right, please work, please work, please work. Hey, look at that, AssassinSpy. We got a whole bunch of stuff. And this is where some people are probably going to learn that NOD power plants do not provide the same amount of power as GDI power plants. So you'll see it's 15 out of 25 and 15 out of 30 on the power. But that does not mean that, or I don't know what I was going to say there, but it does not mean that anything is broken because the numbers are different. It does mean that GDI and NOD power plants don't provide the same power, which is one of those details that probably some people knew, but they didn't quite realize. Like, oh yeah, I remember realizing that a long time ago. I actually don't know where Scrin power plants fall. I think they're the same as GDI. But NOD power plants are the worst. They're the weakest. They're the cheapest. And they provide the least power. But there we go. AssassinSpy versus BartJones. GDI versus Marked of Kane. A matchup that has become very common in the last couple of years, definitely, with changes to the patch. Marked of Kane becoming a much better faction than they were, in the 2015 kind of era. But GDI versus Marked of Kane is something that both of these players should be super familiar with. AssassinSpy and BartJones probably have a lot of games as both factions and probably have a really good feeling for how they both play out. And BartJones, if you did not see him in the Holdout Challenge, well, it was super fun to get to see him play. He definitely impressed me with the level of play that he was putting out against BartJones. And I think AssassinSpy is probably a little bit more on his level. But AssassinSpy, I'm actually kind of thinking, did he also participate in the Holdout Challenge? I'm not 100% sure if he did. However, these two guys, I think, they play some games together. They have some matches. They're going to be familiar with each other's play styles. And I did not actually check if this was random v random, but it is indeed 1.02 plus R19, the same patch as the Winter Championship. So this is a relatively recent game from probably 2023. Normal openings thus far for both players. Decent scouting from each player as well. The buggies scouting the left side of the map. The riflemen in their foxhole trying to scout the right side of the map. Tip Spike in the middle was grabbed by BartJones. There was a little bit of a scuffle there between the two players. The Awakened squads trying to dislodge the GDI, but the foxhole came down just in time. And the Tip Spike was won by BartJones. This is one of those maps that can be quite a long build-up and then quite an explosive ending. Although, Pitbull's going to be finding a blue Tiberium Harvester. A nice get here for BartJones. AssassinSpy is going to be kicking himself if this Harvester actually does go down. And with 3 Pitbulls now closing in, it's almost a guarantee that the Harvester will go down. He does switch so that he's no longer rear armor to the Pitbulls, which is a nice touch, but ultimately it didn't change the outcome. Buggies will be able to chase down these Pitbulls, and maybe they're getting a couple of extra shots against those Pitbulls just because of that switch. I don't think so, though. I think the reverse move there was cute, but ultimately meaningless. And this is actually going to be Bloodhounds getting called in basically immediately by BartJones. And actually, unfortunately for him, directly on top of these units, so they will potentially get jumped on. BartJones is going to be able to push away the bikes and the buggies, going to be able to knock down a couple of the buggies on and bikes on exit. And the refineries coming up at the natural expansion. The Orca Strike coming across the map will not tag any Harvester. Maybe he took off the smallest amount of HP possible, but nothing really to write home about. Command post is up. AP Ammo is almost done researching, and Hammerheads are on the way for BartJones. Very traditional GDI opening from this guy. Pitbulls into an airfield after his natural expansion is rocking and rolling, but he's going quick into a tech center. No third base, no double war factory for this guy. It's going to be right into the tech center, going to be right into Tier 3. That might be Firehawks as a follow-up, but I'm not sure exactly what his plan is with the tech center just yet. Rockheads, they're a cheaper alternative than Zoneheads, and maybe they'll be just enough active damage for BartJones to get out on the map and put some pressure on AssassinSpy. Tip Spike in the middle, going to be going down, and AssassinSpy is heading for that third base. He's got the double war factory already set up, and there's going to be the Marv on the way, the Reclamator hub online, but still no upgrades out of that tech center, so it is just for the Marv at the current moment. Literally no other use case for that Tier 3. He just wants that Marv and nothing else. MCV could get tagged. Bikes and buggies swing in. First hits don't land. Laser fence comes up as well, and the Reclamator hub, I think, was spotted there by AssassinSpy. He probably did get vision on it. And if not, he's going to be in for a big surprise in a couple of minutes. Bike buggy swings around to the north side. Decoy army gets deployed. This is 3 war factories on the field. Operations center is finally down, but no Tier 3, no tech for this Marked of Kane player, and no EMPs to take part of this in this battle. It's just going to be pure bike buggy spam. Not a lot of buggies are left. It's mostly bikes as the numbers get thinned out. Predator tank's going to get traded against the bikes on exit, and the Hammerheads will find a couple of kills before they get annihilated. No, they all survive but one that goes down at the last possible second there. Tier 3 finally up. Tib Core maybe just beginning there as these bikes come back to the third. Double refinery on the third for BartJones, and this is where the nature of this map pushes these two players together, and you end up in this game-ending fight. The push across the map usually wins or loses the game for one of these players, and it's pretty rare that the game goes on much longer than this. Although maybe this will be one of those base trades. Beam cannons might actually be able to delay this. The MCV is packed up and on the move as well, so this is going to be a double MCV, possibly just sonic emitters all day. But it could be a war factory packed along for the repairs. We'll see. Obelisks are here. There's going to be the beam cannons targeting down that Marv right away. Sonic emitter gets burned down. Bikes are here, but there is no upgrades on them. At least not yet. Marv is going to have to back away. That is way too much health getting sapped away. And the Marv and the MCV going down could be the end of the game for BartJones. He packs up his MCV to break the attack lock, calls in an Orca Strike as well. And the MCV barely out of range there, but the Marv shows its rear armor, and they don't go for it. The beam cannons could have maybe got some big damage on that Marv, but they don't go for the attack. BartJones looks like he's about 20 grand up in total resources gathered over his opponent. And yet, his push gets completely stopped, gets completely shut down. The MCV has to reposition, trying to drop a sonic emitter to buy some time. It doesn't actually buy very much time, but it might buy just enough for the engineer to pop on out and for this MCV to be saved. Juggernauts making their way to the front line. Railguns inside of this Marv now. And the MCV breaks the attack lock once again. Still no upgrades from this Tier 3. So he wanted that Marv. He wanted some Juggernauts. And that's it. I always hope that we're going to see the return of Railguns. Obviously, we saw it last game from Drive playing Steel Talons. But I always hope that we're going to see the return of Railguns in regular GDI play. And it's not happening. BartJones says, no way am I going for Railguns. I'm not wasting my cash on that. Predator tanks getting cleaned up one by one. Orbital bombardment will fire off. Doesn't find many of the beam cannons, but it does get one. No shockwave artillery to lock anything down. And it's going to be the buggies and the bikes swinging over to the left side, cleaning up a couple of harvesters, 1 or 2 harvesters going down, and the hammerheads are going to trade out against every single bike and buggy. And now the return of the Bulldogs is not going to be an easy one as they land on top of these Tib Core bikes, which are smashing through the harvesters one by one. Fortunately, the heroic bike has gone down, and the shockwave artillery did land on the base defenses of AssassinSpy. EMP comes in, locks down all of the Juggernauts, but not the Marv, and the railguns stay active as the Grenadier squads, not upgraded, these are just regular Grenadier squads, come to the front line. Harvesters are here. Obelisk back online. Bikes and buggies have been cleaned out. The watchtowers finally cooked them all. Juggernauts still largely untouched. 2 more Juggernauts moving in, and the total is 4, but it's about to be 5. Bikes swinging in on the north side. Watchtowers are going to try and buy some more time. BartJones, he feels like he's got an opportunity here to close out the game, and he might be able to do it with some Harvester crushes as well. Going to the Destruction Derby as this Marv looks for the kill. Zone Raiders here in support. Spectres trying to move into a defensive position, and the Juggernauts, that husk won't be recovered as they move into position. The MCV coming forward as well. And BartJones says, I think I can finish it off. The bike and the buggy has been pushed back. It's beam cannons, 1 Spectre, and a nice number of bikes. There aren't a lot of watchtowers here, so the Spectres and the bikes are going to be able to crash onto the Juggernauts and knock them down. The beam cannons burning down that MCV in the meantime, trying to keep it low, but the watchtowers getting in the way. The obelisks can't be kept online as AssassinSpy AssassinSpy running into power problems time and time and time again. He's back online now, but we'll see for how long. Shredder turrets get deployed. No supercharged particle beams for this Marked of Kane player. Marv takes another couple of big shots from the Spectres. The Juggernauts have almost all been cleaned up. Only one Husk remains on the ground and one Juggernaut in the sky. Orca Strike tags that Obelisk. Harvester's pretty much offline for BartJones. He's got a decent amount of Tib regrowing in the back line. None of the EMP lands. These are Raider buggies equipped with coils, but they're not firing off. Finally, one lands, gets the MCV as well, and this engineer is running for his life. Zone Raiders moving in for this save, and it looks like the Marv will survive. Juggernauts barely keeping up the fire, and the Zone Troopers as well landing to snipe a couple of bikes and keep that Marv alive. The fight coming down incredibly close between these two players. AssassinSpy nearly knocked out 2 or 3 times now. His counterattacks have been amazing. The number of Harvesters that he's killed has been tearful. At least if you're BartJones. I guess if you're a Nod player, then you've been loving the number of Harvester kills that have happened. EMP coming forward, another Raider buggy hoping for a hero lockdown here. Just as the Juggernaut gets recovered, the fresh shots land, the Raider buggy goes down, and the Marv pulls back. BartJones needs to get his economy back online. I don't know that he ever rebuilt any of his Harvesters, so he may just have 1 or 2 from the earlier parts of this game. Unfortunately, he has not sent them to greener pastures, so they're still wasting away up there in the north. Both of these players coming closer together for the last stages of this game. And no, it's a fully heroic Zone Trooper squad. It's worth it to get an armory just to heal up that Zone Trooper squad, get them back to full, and then send them back out to the front line. Those Zone Troopers need to jump jet away, and indeed they will. The Marv has very little opposition. The EMP lands. Juggernaut Husk goes down. The Engineer does not find the ability to save that. And once again, these Zone Raiders going solo, but they do actually get an armory. They do actually get returned to full health, and this is a very powerful Zone Raider. Full health, full squad, fully heroic. As they're going to burn down that Shredder turret, AssassinSpy sells off the MCV. And actually, the Tip Troopers might be able to take down the Zone Trooper if it was a 1v1, but not with that APC there on Overwatch. EMP comes in. EMP misses. And it's just too much from BartJones. Once again, the hero Zone Trooper almost getting sniped by the beam cannons, but surviving. And the armory does actually survive. The EMP lands on the Marv, and a random engineer is sneaking out to the left side of the map. We'll see if AssassinSpy is able to make some kind of magic happen. He's going to try and close the distance with these beam cannons. Zone Troopers trying to go ultra heroic, but they just get burned down as the Orca Strike is once again going to be missing, and it looks like that engineer got cleaned up somewhere by BartJones. Marv backing off. Taken away from the front line. AssassinSpy not giving up. He's still got a war factory. He's still got hope alive. His Harvester distribution might accidentally be better than BartJones. Bikes coming in. A couple of watchtowers are here. BartJones realizing that he has some Harvester weaknesses, and he does indeed send his Harvesters to the area with a lot more Tiberium. He's going to be able to have an actual income soon enough. Beam cannons find some damage against the Marv, but they are slowly burning down that health bar. That is not a super stream of beam cannons. There we go. Now we're talking about a Marv killing machine, and it's going to be the power plant that saves the Marv in this moment, but not from the Tib core bikes, as AssassinSpy once again comes out of nowhere to keep his hopes alive in this game, in the face of a Marv, in the face of a heroic Zocom squad and Zone Trooper squad. AssassinSpy keeps his hopes alive. BartJones and AssassinSpy appear to be so incredibly evenly matched that they will be locked in a fight possibly forever, going back and forth with the smallest of armies. The Marv standing alone for, 5 minutes now, basically fighting out this extended battle by itself. Going to be doing some reverse harvesting as it heads back to the third. Watchtowers are here, built from the defense earlier. Double MCV ended up being the smart move for BartJones, keeping his hopes alive with that double MCV play, and it does give him a second build queue now that his frontline MCV has gone down. Buggies targeting down those rifle squads, trying to keep the infantry from growing too big, because BartJones says, I guess I'm going to go mass infantry. He's got 3 barracks on the front line. He's only producing from 2 of them, and he doesn't even have the income for that. Beam cannons targeting down the Marv once again. The song we've seen many times, but this time there's no EMPs. The Spectre's actually coming in from down here. These 2 Spectres trying to cut down the production facilities. I mean, there is another barracks nearby, so killing 1 barracks isn't necessarily the end of the world for BartJones. Bart's hoping to close the distance. He's tried so many times to shut down the artillery of AssassinSpy, and it has yet to work. Beam cannons super targeting that Marv. EMP locking down a Predator tank right on the edge of the field. The Raider buggies are going to return to clean up the rockets. Bikes will be able to kill off this Predator tank, but not before he comes back online and gets a couple of shots off. Rocket squad's reforming the front line. More Predators. The income of BartJones has come alive. He's got 1 working harvester on his natural and 3 working harvesters at his third, which is actually the more dangerous battleground. AssassinSpy, I assume, has rebuilt his MCV. He may not have actually. No, he did. All right. He is back. He's back with that MCV. He's got all the potential in the world because more Shredder turrets are being added on to the front line. I was definitely expecting this push from BartJones to be the end of the game one way or the other, but it has turned into just this extended siege, which has sort of gone back and forth between both players. AssassinSpy in the driver's seat for a minute there, and now BartJones back on the offense, trying to knock down this refinery, trying to knock down this base. And I mean, right now he's just trading out units against Shredder turrets, which doesn't feel very useful. Beam cannons powering up this obelisk to absolutely obliterate BartJones' attacking army, and the bikes are looking for an undefended area to swing back into. They're going to find a couple of harvesters. They're going to find some big splash damage on the harvesters of BartJones, but it's not enough to knock one down, at least not just yet. Rockets keep slamming into these bikes. Watchtowers as well, finding their mark. And the bikes getting targeted down by the watchtowers, but they found a little bit of an opening. 2 bikes exploding nearly at once. Harvester does get saved. Are you kidding me? BartJones saving that harvester against 4 Tibcore bikes. Sells off a bunch of power plants. He's like, I don't need quite so much power. I'm okay without it. The circle of the refinery, and yes, BartJones keeps the harvester alive. AssassinSpy, I think he used some 1-clicks earlier, but again, kind of like IamRaider in that last game. Oh yeah, I just realized this blue Tiberium has hardly been harvested at all. Perhaps literally no one has gotten a full load of Tiberium from this blue, but AssassinSpy is about to, and that is a bit of an oversight for BartJones, who could have sent his main base harvesters over there a good long while ago. Double vet on this Marv. He's looking to go heroic. Maybe he can finally get that last star that he's been hoping for. Harvesters coming in for the heroic crush. They're cutting down on the rocket squad numbers of BartJones. And AssassinSpy actually manages to drop a refinery in kind of a northern position as well. So AssassinSpy is really going to be able to make good use of that blue Tiberium. He's got a relatively short walk to the blue Tiberium field. He's going to be getting that double income and living off of it for a long time because of those stealthy harvesters. This one random Shredder turret in the south causing some problems for BartJones. BartJones, it's felt a couple of times like he was on the verge of victory, but almost every time that it looks like it, there's always something knocking at his door, hoping to knock him down, make that victory into a defeat, and let AssassinSpy reign supreme. Enlightened R here. EMPs could land, or maybe they're just here to keep... Oh, that's going to be a big EMP. Gets almost everything. Gets 6 units with that one EMP. Tib Troopers coming to the front line. 5 more units with a second EMP as AssassinSpy is keeping this entire army basically offline. Rocket squads all go down. Beam cannons are looking to burn down those last couple of support units, backing away from the Marv inch by inch, but there's nothing in the main base for AssassinSpy to kill. He's just parked his units there, hoping to catch a latent harvester, but he won't actually find one. The Marv thinking that the hero status will save it, and it might win the game, but it might die before it can happen. Shredder turrets just to buy time for these beam cannons to continue their backwards trend, continue backing away from the front line. Predator tank will go down. A second Predator tank can be targeted. Repeat EMPs might be the only way to extend out this fight long enough for the beam cannons to burn everything down. They've taken so many of these units into low health. BartJones has been bleeding out units just like before against the Obelisk. He bleeds out these units and then his army disappears, and he somehow is never able to actually kill off these beam cannons. EMPs nearly surrounding this army, and you have to hand it to AssassinSpy. He may not be killing any units, but he is EMPing incredibly consistently. The Marv, the Predators, and the APCs just constantly getting targeted down by those EMPs, and the blue Tiberium has been completely harvested away by AssassinSpy. That definitely is keeping him in this game as we climb over 200,000 total resources gathered by both players. Enlightened here on the front line to clean up those rocket squads, but the APCs are a threat as well, and the beam cannons may finally be getting chased into a corner. The Predator tanks have found their targets, and the beam cannons, I think, are no more. Or maybe a couple of them have managed to escape. 5 of them have managed to escape into the middle of the map. They will not be cornered. They will not be caught. They will not be killed. Oh my gosh, the Predator tank's getting EMP'd once again. And if AssassinSpy is able to pull this out once again from this position, he's found every single Predator tank, so now he just has to keep up the EMPs on the Marv. BartJones sending everything across the map, hoping for his parade push to work, and the beam cannons are targeting down the Marv. The EMPs seem to be landing. This might be the last hurrah for this Marv double vet, and it's going to need a hero of Predators and APCs to come in and save it, but it won't matter because the Marv goes down. The beams must have gone heroic. Yes, they did. They got those big blue beams, and AssassinSpy will tear down the army of BartJones 1 unit at a time. EMP is going to land. Without the Marv, this army has so much less staying power. BartJones ahead on income for much of this game, even now with 10 grand more total harvested. And yet, his Marv is dead. Beam cannons seem to be his undoing as AssassinSpy is heading to the end game. AssassinSpy is like, all right, well, I guess we just mop up the rest of this GDI player and call it a day. No, he's not going to keep going. He's holding off for a moment. He may actually want to rebuild a little bit here. You know, he's lost basically everything, so he truly does have very little left out on the map. Harvester very low on health. All of the bikes and buggies have gone down. If AssassinSpy had turned those bikes and buggies around, he might have been able to make this attack keep going. He might have been able to keep up the pressure, but both players have taken a moment to breathe. AssassinSpy is going to be able to back up to his main base, which is maybe 3/4 regrown. APC is getting targeted down. These beam cannons. Yeah, 2 are single vent, 1's double vent, and 1 is heroic, and then just 1 is a lame old regular beam cannon. Not any kind of special rank on him. This Shredder turret from so long ago still in the game. AssassinSpy down to just a couple of buildings, so I guess when the MCV is packed up, I think it maybe doesn't count as a building, or maybe it looks like the building counter might be a little bit bugged because he didn't sell any of this stuff off. But unfortunately, that kind of stuff does happen. Yeah, not sure. Weird. It's a house of cards, guys. Bikes coming in. Harvesters will pay the price. 1 harvester down. That Tib core is so incredibly powerful. Wait, do stealth buildings not count for some reason? No, that wouldn't make sense. Okay. But it's not totally bugged. That's super weird. War Factory goes down. Harvesters getting targeted. More harvesters going down. AssassinSpy hoping he can kill BartJones before BartJones kills him. APC Predator, a composition from the beginning of the game, coming now to try and finish this game out. AP ammo is giving a huge benefit, and the beam cannons will be targeted down. The Hero one should be targeted first, but the EMPs land on every single unit, and AssassinSpy just needs to keep this up for a couple of more seconds. The EMPs locking down this GDI force bit by bit, but the beam cannons can't last forever. One by one, the beams are going down until there's only 2 left. The Preds have too much power. And let's see if those bikes have been able to kill everything else. It looks like the answer is no. AssassinSpy, after so much of a fight, takes it all the way and then doesn't quite manage to finish it out. The Hero beam cannon goes down. The Hero zone trooper got eliminated. Our heroic units just don't last in this game. AssassinSpy, if he'd been able to harvest all of this Tiberium, could probably have kept the attack going, have kept his hopes alive in this game. But the rocket squads are his last hope. He is taking down a couple of these Predator tanks. The APCs are going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. And there is 3 Hand of Nods here, but they're not producing much of anything anymore. And AssassinSpy might just be throwing in the towel. Although, no, BartJones hasn't been rebuilding, so he's actually, unless he can get an MCV, which technically he can, he's got a Tib Spike and a War Factory. But this is just coming down to a good old-fashioned base race between these 2 players. War Factory is getting targeted down. Whatever is building can't build fast enough. These attack bikes will take it down. The rocket squad's moving in to defend, and the last couple of bikes will not get the shot. The War Factory still stands. He's got to recommit to attack. He's got to try and find the best angle that he can. There he goes. He got it. War Factory goes down, so that's lights out for BartJones. He's got that barracks, and that is it. Meanwhile, there's all of these buildings down in the south. The Tib Spike is still here. AssassinSpy just needs to kill this barracks. He doesn't actually realize both of these players, for whatever reason, reading 0 buildings. But they do have a couple. BartJones has 1 building. AssassinSpy, he's got a decent chunk of an army here. Scorpion tanks, rocket squads. This may be too much for this force to fight. Harvesters coming in as well. Way too much from AssassinSpy, and still that Shredder turret in the south. He's low power mode, but who even cares? Pred tanks not outlasting the Scorpions, and the Harvester now going for the crush. BartJones has fought out an amazing game, but it will not be enough. The double barracks plus the War Factory plus the refinery from AssassinSpy is too much. An incredibly close game between these 2, huge back and forth, but that will be it. GG gets called, and AssassinSpy going to be able to close that one out in a mere 30 minutes. A true even match between these guys. Back and forth, huge armies, trading places, and that will do it for game number 2. Huge win for AssassinSpy. Can't believe that he managed to pull that one out in the end. BartJones bleeding so many units over the course of that game. Bleeding so many armies away one by one. I mean, the Marv survived almost every single time, and it's like the Marv keeps recycling, and then the army comes back, and then it gets killed off, and BartJones was not able to keep that army alive. He kept the Marv alive, but not the army. All right, third 1v1 coming up. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Of course, the VOD will be available, I think, immediately. It should be right away that you can watch the VOD. So if you miss the games, you can see the VOD after the show. And if we have time, we're going to be getting into a couple of team games as well. But once again, oh, there's actually someone named BartJones in the chat, but apparently it is a different BartJones. So I guess BartJones is a common enough name that, that we got someone named BartJones and someone playing BartJones, but they're two different people. Okay, the Warp Chasm has a different animation for the Eradicator than the rest of the units. I didn't actually realize that. That kind of reminds me of StarCraft 2, like the on the higher graphic settings, Stargates, and I think even Warp Gate or Gateways before you upgrade them to Warp Gates. But at least Stargates, you can actually see the outline of whatever is building. Oh, BartJones. What a troll. What a troll. I was like, wow, that's kind of weird that we have two BartJones, but you know, it's possible. Names can be the same. But, you know, we got another match coming up. Let's make sure that we have everything prepped for this one. Hopefully, the couple of bugs that we saw with the UI doesn't mean that it'll be totally broken for this next match. But we'll see. We'll see. Everything's reading correctly right now at the start of the game, so we'll see. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Of course, big thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this stream as well, and we'll be talking about them after this third game. And then we've got those two team games to get to, and actually, we're doing really good on time. I was worried about time because I started so late that I've been, you know, I guess keeping the in-between time pretty minimal, but we're doing good on time, so unless this game is super-duper long, we're going to get to at least one of the team games by the end of this stream. So we got this 1v1 and then one team game to go, maybe two team games. Who even knows? All right, I think we've bought enough time. I think we're ready to see if the House of Cards will stand or if it will crumble. Welcome to Tournament Decision for our third 1v1. In the north, playing the yellow scrin, this is Senna. Somewhat absent from the Winter Championship, so I'm glad to see him here in a game, or at least he was absent from the rounds of the Winter Championship that I casted. And in the south, playing blue GDI, this is OneVision. OneVision versus Senna. All right, everything's looking pretty normal. Everything's looking okay. 30 out of 30. Look at that. 15 out of 30. All right, I think everything's working. So the tib spike does get reported. Couple of things to note. The income in the bank and the resources gathered have a little bit of a kind of mismatch because you start with 10 grand. And selling buildings doesn't count towards your total resources gathered. So you can be in a situation where you sell off a building and you get 250 credits, but you don't get 2 plus 250 back in the resources gathered tab. So there is sometimes a little bit of a disconnect because of how the game sees those two things, but honestly, it's such a small amount that I don't think it'll ever be of significance. Descent's getting tagged a little bit there. No fast leg descents, it looks like, though. I don't see the stasis chamber. A couple of GDI squads going to be able to grab some of these buildings around the map, which is nice for OneVision. But if it's at the cost of a harvester or a tip spike, then that definitely won't be worth it. And also, another weird kind of thing about the game is when you're playing Scrin and you make a buzzer hive, the like 3 or 4 buzzers that spawn in, is this harvester going to die? No, his brother harvester goes for the crush. He says, let me sacrifice my life for you, brother. And he goes for the crush. His health bar just disappears. But it deals with all of those units extremely quickly. And actually, this is kind of a fast MCV reposition. It's so much more common for people to really play this out to 3 refineries, maybe even tier 3, all on this one field on tournament decision. But in this case, OneVision says, no, I need a little bit of space. I want to grow. I want to expand out. I just want some room to wiggle and waggle. Anyways, buzzer hives actually spawn in like 3 units. So you'll see on the unit counting station, if he builds a buzzer hive, it'll be like +1 building and then maybe 3 or 4 units. But I don't remember exactly how many it is. But it spawns in 3 or 4 units there. And so those are actually, the game counts those as units. I don't know how it counts those. Like if you kill a buzzer hive, would that count as killing 4 units on the on like your efficiency score? I'm not 100% sure. But Senna versus OneVision, Scrin versus GDI, and yeah, OneVision is going for a super fast natural expansion, super fast relative to the map that it's on. I mean, this is Nerve Center, Stabilizer, calling in the I-Core Seed, like everything is looking normal for Senna, and OneVision is like, I gotta expand, I gotta. And I mean, he's not against Nod, so he doesn't have to worry about one clicks. His refineries can be close together, that's not a problem. Engineer not going to grab that defensive tower. A little bit annoying there for Senna to be losing that engineer. The second engineer does survive for the current moment. Lightning Spike going to help these seeker tanks to try and break these APCs, but ultimately it's good control by OneVision that keeps his APCs all alive until there, where he lost one that he actually didn't need to. But he did eject out the squad, so he got the evac. He did manage to save the squad. That's good for him. Engineer inside of that APC does actually get saved, and now the defensive turret will be grabbed by OneVision. Refinery is up at the natural expansion. Harvester's working away, and yeah, this is kind of weird, but that does mean that OneVision's main base is going to last a super long time. Senna is going to harvest through his main much faster than OneVision is. As I say that, he's probably going to like add on another refinery, and then he'll just end up harvesting it at basically the same rate. But at the current moment, he's gone for the airfield. He's gone command post. No AP ammo. Hasn't even started it. Does feel like a little bit of an oversight there. But, you know, we'll see. Devastator warship going to be able to take down that defensive tower. Oh, the EMP. I was like, what building just got captured? But the EMP control center does get captured by OneVision. So he does now have control of that. Mechabede's heading out onto the north side of the map. Tripod's going to be the follow-up. And, well, the MCV is on the move to the natural. No Eradicator Hexapod on the way yet. Although Tier 3 is up for OneVision. Still just extending out the life of that main field. Preds actually grabbed that Mechapede. So that was a Mechapede that was meant to, you know, do maybe a little bit of harassment, kill a harvester or two, and it just gets caught and killed by those Pred tanks. OneVision showing us a very good performance here, but Senna is, of course, no slouch. He's going to clean up that EMP control center, cleans up the defensive tower, and then takes the second defensive tower for himself. He did not forget about that engineer. He did not let that go to waste. Preds and APCs on the north side. One of those APCs already ranked up a little bit here. Engineer also going to be coming in from OneVision to go for the Tib Spike. Always nice to steal your opponent's Tib Spikes any time you can. These Preds and APCs are going to have a tough time against Tripod's Seekers with those upgrades and these Gunwalkers as well. At the same time, Tripod going to be doing some damage against this Sonic Emitter. OneVision has lost his refinery on the front line. He prioritized that refinery, and the Devastator warship just shut it down. On top of that, Slingshot is now out. A couple of Devastator warships could maybe abuse this cliff area and just shell the base from as far away as they can, trying to keep themselves safe while bashing down that base. Engineer either died or the spike has been recaptured. Otherwise, it's still 2 spikes for Senna, 2 spikes for OneVision. No trades there. Defensive tower still on Senna's side. No expansion to the north just yet, although Senna is moving a lot of units in that position, in that way. He may actually choose to long-distance mine it. And finally, our first epic unit on the way in the form of this Marv. He did have to get out a slingshot or 2 before the Marv, but the Marv is now out. The Eradicator Hexapod shouldn't be too much further away, although he does seem to be prioritizing something else as well. He might be a little bit worried about that Marv. Main field still harvesting full time. Look at that. Still got a decent amount of cash at that main. We'll see if that actually is a benefit. Right now, there is a bit of a cash advantage for Senna in terms of total resources gathered. Firehawk's going to be returning to base, getting back to that airfield. Lots of power plants on the front line. We'll see if that ends up biting OneVision. Those Devastator warships can be rebuilt and come back into the fray. And if they suddenly knock down those power plants, that could be a big, big problem for OneVision. I know what happened to the Eradicator Hexapod. It looks like I did miss a Firehawk bombing run. There is no Tier 3. It is now rebuilt, and there were some squads running around. So I think the Tier 3 got cleaned up by a Firehawk bombing run, and that completely delayed the Eradicator Hexapod. So in that case, huge props to OneVision, because that is a pretty critical kill from OneVision. Engineer and Zone Troopers on the front line. One Zone Trooper already inside of that Marv. OneVision looking ready to go. Firehawks get cleaned up, but not before they kill that Eradicator Hexapod one more time. Can you reset an Eradicator Hexapod too many times? No, says the GDI player. 2 Eradicator Hexapod resets is pretty hefty, especially for OneVision, who's got a lot of Juggernauts now on the front line. Like, this might be the game-winning move, is just resetting that Eradicator Hexapod twice. I mean, he's still, what, like 7 grand behind in total resources gathered, but his army way outstrips that of Senna. And, guess your main base is about to be your only base. That long-distance mining going to be more and more dangerous as the game goes on. But the MCV is going to be able to run for the hills, get out of dodge, and hope for a better day sometime in the future. OneVision pushing the front line forward. He's going to be able to snipe that stasis. He's going to be able to force all of the other buildings to be sold off, and it will be a fight in the late game at the main base of Senna. Although, no, Senna's moving out. He may not actually want to defend. He may say, okay, let's do a little cross map. Let's go for a little you hit me, I hit you. And we'll see. Juggernaut's going to be turning around. The Marv isn't turning around yet. It's getting a couple of extra shots on that power plant. But OneVision is aware of this. He knows. And this is going to be a maze for these Juggernauts to maneuver through. And they can make it, but it is going to be a bit annoying. If they navigate around all of these buildings one by one, that might actually just take the Juggernauts about 100 years to get through that base. Hammerheads are now here. Shock Troopers getting targeted down, and, well, if all the Shock Troopers and Gunwalkers are gone, then actually these tripods suddenly became a lot easier to deal with. Juggernauts are going to try and fire at them through the ridge, and this is actually a kind of perfect engagement if the Juggernauts can just land shots before the fight really happens. But no, the Juggernauts are going to run for the hills. I don't know. They're turning around. They keep switching directions as the Tier 3 goes down. The Shockwave Artillery fires off. Can OneVision land the shots? First round is good. The barrage lands, and these Juggernauts clean up 2 tripods at once. Third tripod is about to go down, and the Gunwalkers get cleared. The Tier 3 goes down, but the army survives for OneVision. Senna says, you sniped me, I'll snipe you. But at the same time, You better hope you got enough distance. Is he going to go pure descents? I think that's the play. The play is pure descent. And now this Marv is back online. The tier 3 could get targeted. The portal as well can go down. And these buzzers hopelessly buzzing around that Marv, pretending that they're doing something in this fight. And that's going to be the end of the Marv. But it's going to be the end of the tier 3. No, it's not. The tier 3 outlives the Marv. The nerve center outlives the Firehawks. And Senna keeps his hopes alive by sniping the Marv of OneVision. Big play there by OneVision, but on the back end, he has closed the gap, the income gap in total between these two players. Resources gathered has come shockingly close to each other. Now, one of those things that is nice for OneVision is he got to harvest up much of the field of Senna, so he stole a little bit of Senna's natural expansion away from him. Almost gets a full tech reset. If he would have killed the nerve center and the tier 3, it would have been a full tech reset of Senna, and he came so close to that. I don't know, 20% health, 10% health on each structure. Even going to call in an Orca Strike to try and finish the job. It may not be enough damage, but it will keep that tech center low. One harvester, like doop-de-doop-de-doop, off to work I go, and, well, no, it looks like the Orca Strike will actually go down almost before it even tags that tier 3. Engineer already jumped inside, so lots of health bar to share there. And Skrin Infantry is about to ground and pound this Predator tank army. The Harvester needs to run for the hills, otherwise he's going to be shortly following that Predator tank into the ground. And no, the Harvester may actually escape. Oh, low damage mode. It's moving slower. The descents just keep tagging it right as it's trying to leave. Defensive tower also still here for Senna. Juggernauts forming a huge block on the minimap, just a giant rectangle the size of a refinery or an MCV or something. The Reclamator Hub has been around for this whole time, so the hope of a Marv does still exist for OneVision. Anti-air getting targeted down. Senna, he has kept his hopes alive by long distancing this field in the north. OneVision has been doing an incredible job of keeping the front line moving forward. Even when he went back home to defend, he kept that Marv moving forward, and it almost got him a full tech reset on Senna. In the end, it kind of did nothing because the Marv ended up dying, and Senna saved everything. But it almost, I don't want to say won the game, but that would have been very close to winning the game. The Juggernauts are still here. Perhaps the Shock Troopers are hoping to blink on top of them and clean up those Juggernauts, but any fight at range is going to favor the Juggernauts over everything that Senna has. The main base is being assaulted, and actually the defense is worn extremely thin. It's just a couple of watchtowers here. The refinery going down. OneVision is about to lose his main base as he's going to go for the trade against the main base of Senna at the same time. Refinery is getting targeted down, and Senna's buildings fall a whole lot faster than OneVision's do. Watchtowers are a formidable defense against Shock Troopers and Gunwalkers. Defensive turret still earning its stripes in this game, and Juggernauts pounding away at those buildings, knocking them down one by one. Power plant getting targeted. Juggernauts crawling their way forward. And Senna versus OneVision. It's been a tight fight back and forth. If Senna can crush this army, which he does have a pretty significant army comp here. 40 units for Senna, 41 to the 26, and yeah, closing in on the Juggernauts. If he's able to lock down these Juggernauts, suddenly Senna's buildings get a lot more long-lasting. Juggernauts taking a little bit of damage here. Watchtowers are here. Barracks is also here, so as long as the Husks stay alive, OneVision can keep this game rolling. If he kills the tripod as well, that would be another Husk under his control, and Watchtowers are going to do so much damage to this Skrin army. The Juggernauts as well tearing apart these Skrin units as this slow fight between the Gunwalkers and the Juggernauts, and this tripod just gives up. He says, I'm not going to try and fight that. They're going to target me down and just wipe me me out as the Hammerheads look for unexposed targets. There is one plasma missile battery on the left side here. The Harvesters are undefended. Plant over top of the Harvesters, but no! A fresh plasma missile battery will defend the Harvesters, and 2 Hammerheads will go down as they pass by that base. 4 Juggernauts have survived. The Tripod and the Shock Troopers were not targeting down those Juggernauts, so they did not go down, and Senna keeps himself in this game, but just barely. Killing off those Hammerheads has kept his Harvesters safe for now. If the Shock Troopers could close the distance on the Juggernauts without getting blasted to pieces by the Watchtowers, Senna might be able to just end this mechanized army. But there goes the Tripod, and now the Slingshot is here as well. This Slingshot looking completely useless as Senna will target down his own Husk, knowing that he won't be able to deny the Engineer if he doesn't kill the Husk right now. Refinery's getting targeted. Buzzer Hive gets called in, and the Engineer will get sniped. Nicely done there by Senna. That's worth the cost of that Buzzer Hive. OneVision really thinks that that's either a misclick or he really thinks that there was like a secret gravity stabilizer, and he's like, oh no, he's going Storm Riders. I got to be prepared. But actually he's not. And this Slingshot may have been a misclick, but he's going to get a nice scout out for OneVision. Senna has burned through all of the Tiberium on the map, getting another 15,000 credits ahead of OneVision in terms of total resources gathered. But the armies have passed away again and again and again. Those Shock Troopers aren't cheap. Is this going to be a Ox Scout? I think he's going for the Ox Scout. He does a Rifleman squad inside of that Ox Transport. Orca Strike comes in. We'll tag the power plant. 2 of the Orcas get through. Good enough. But these Harvesters are not dropping off much for Senna. OneVision keeping it rolling. He never lost that Reclamator hub. He has been never fully reset on his tech. Even when his Tier 3 got knocked down, he still at least had his Reclamator hub. He is going to be forced to sell it off now. We'll get 2 Zone Troopers inside of that Marv. Big sell-off of power plants. Doesn't need all of those, of course. Refinery gets targeted. Still enough cash in the bank, though, for OneVision. As long as he's got enough cash in the bank. I guess he does also have 1 tib spike, 2 tib spikes. So, yeah, he's never really out of cash as long as you've got those 2 tib spikes. But there is just so little Tiberium on the map. If they just came down to it, OneVision would win the ground fight. But Senna is never going to engage until he has a better army. So he's going to try and draw this one out. He's cleared up the main base of OneVision decently well, and there's these little pockets of Tiberium sort of all over the map for Senna to take advantage of. Marv rolls its way forward. Senna is like, he's wheeling and dealing, trying to... Oh, this Slingshot goes down. Senna is wheeling and dealing, looking for any way to delay out this game, to try and get like a sneaky come from behind kind of a win. Yeah, the assembler just gets sniped. I think it dodged that Rifleman, or dodged a couple of Rifleman squads, and then it just runs right into the Marv. It's like, oh, didn't have that much further to go, but that will be that will be it for that Engineer. Yeah, I thought it was going to be mass descents out of this portal. Another Orca Strike coming in, it looks like. Gunwalkers getting deployed to the Harvester Assault Force. Orca Strike comes in, but the portal has been rebuilt in a slightly different position. The Juggernauts are back home defending OneVision's new main base in the old main base of Senna, which means this Marv is going to be fighting it out on its own. There are a couple of Descent squads in here, so Descents, they do a deceptive amount of damage, but, well, the rest of the army is falling away, so if the Descents are all that is there, okay, never mind. Senna just spent a huge amount of the last cash that he will get in this game on that Marv. And it did allow the Hammerheads to come in and poke away at that Descent squad, but it hasn't necessarily let this army get that much stronger. The Stasis is going to hold that Marv there for a little while longer. Senna hoping to extend this game out as long as he possibly can. Double portal might be the way to go. Maybe this Marv can't deal with double portal. Hammerhead's dancing right on the edge of range, and if Senna could knock down this Marv, that solves a big problem for him. Gunwalkers and Seekers absorbing so much of the attention of this Marv, and another Marv getting targeted down by this Scrin player. He will take it down. Now the Hammerhead swinging in, looking to clean up everything that remains, but they don't quite finish off those descents. Senna keeping his hopes alive against all odds, against a Marv Juggernaut GDI player. He's still in this one. Refinery is here, but Senna has been defeated. Right as they say he's in this one. Yeah, I'm guessing he saw the army and he was like, okay, well, if you're going to bring all of your stuff, then I guess I'm going to just leave this game. And that will do it. 3 1v1s from viewers, a new UI to look at that we won't necessarily see again. I mean, we'll probably see this UI at some point in the future. I'm going to keep working on it a little bit with having the power, with having the buildings and the units, and then the total resources gathered. I got to do some thinking about what really matters and what I want to keep, and how much I want to deal with the pain of tracking all of these stats. Because, like, for example, Senna, who in this game was player 1, has power used, power max, buildings, units, total resources gathered, total and then resources, and then income, like current money. And some of those things are pretty easy to find and set up. But once you start adding on like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things per player, and then it just becomes more and more tedious. But it's fun to do it at least once, and that's, of course, why we are thankful to Surfshark for sponsoring this stream. We're going to go ahead and talk about Surfshark in this moment. So thank you all very much for tuning in for this Surfshark sponsored stream. Big thanks to them for supporting the channel and helping me be able to spend the time to make this kind of stuff happen. So you can go to surfshark.deals/Sybert, use promo code Sybert for 83% off and 3 extra months for free. Look, gamers, we all already know about VPNs. I assume you probably have one, or you at least know about them. And, you know, there's lots of use cases and also lots of not use cases for VPNs. But there are a couple of things that I do with VPNs that are legitimately extremely useful to me personally. So a big thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this stream and also for making this YouTube stream and VOD ad-free. So we got the Surfshark sponsorship, so there won't be any YouTube ads. I won't be putting any YouTube ads on this video. So, but when I travel for work, I don't know what you guys do. Sometimes I have to travel for work, and when I do, I'm glad that Surfshark exists because I always run into these weird situations when I'm away from home, and it's like, oh, my mobile phone is having a problem. Let me log into my mobile phone provider's website. And I'm like in the Netherlands working on a show. And then my mobile phone provider is like, looks like you're using a VPN because you're in the Netherlands and we don't provide service to the Netherlands. And then I have to turn on Surfshark and VPN back to the US to log into my mobile phone provider to like solve this problem that I'm having. And it's like, oh, this is actually super easy. I don't have to wake my wife up. I don't have to have her deal with any of this. I can just do it really fast. I'm 7 hours ahead of her, so I can do it when it's convenient for me. I don't have to wait for her. And Surfshark makes it super easy and straightforward. And of course, it's funny when you're not using a VPN and then a website tells you, oh, you must be using a VPN. And you're like, you know what will solve this? A VPN, so that I can fool you into thinking that I'm actually in the United States. And then another thing that I didn't actually realize until, I don't know, the last year or so is like, when you're looking at certain products, they'll just be priced differently depending on where you are. So you want to like get a rental car, and it's like, oh, you know what? The rental car actually just costs more if you're like going to Canada and you're renting it, but you're in the US. And it's like, I didn't even realize this, but I could save money on my rental car, and I didn't realize that until I decided to just check, and it's like, oh, the rental car is cheaper if I use my VPN to hop over and say that I'm in Canada when I'm booking it. And it's like, why is that exactly? I don't know, but it is. And so Surfshark has over 3,200 servers in 95 countries, and that means that basically anywhere that I'm going, I know that they'll have a server in that country. I can jump into it. I can look at hotels, rental car, any kind of booking that I'm doing for travel, and see if it's a cheaper price. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the same price exactly, but it's easy to turn Surfshark on and off, so checking the price difference is very quick and easy. There's a lot of VPN companies out there, but there is two things that matter to me a lot when I'm looking at a VPN, and that is speed and devices. So with Surfshark, I never noticed that there is a difference when I'm browsing. If I have it on or have it off, it's fast enough that I never can tell a difference. And they do also have servers with static IPs. If that's something that you care about, they have a little selection of servers with static IPs. And the main thing is Surfshark covers unlimited devices, which is great because between my wife and myself, we have more than 5 or 6 devices, which is what most other VPNs cover. It's like, oh, you want more than 5 or 6? Well, then you're going to have to pay for another account. Not so with Surfshark. One account covers all of our devices, and that's great for me. Again, with travel, I'm usually using more than my typical devices, and so I have extra stuff that I always have to like toggle on and off for if I'm using a different VPN. But with Surfshark, I never have to worry about that. Everything is connected all at once. And all of the apps, super simple to use. They have apps for basically every device. They even have them for your TV. So if you're a person who wants your TV to have a VPN, hey, you can do that as well. It has the app bypasser, so if you wanted to use it on your desktop PC, you could actually set something like OBS to bypass the VPN and just connect directly to the internet. So all of those features, plus 24/7 customer support and a 30-day money-back guarantee, mean that, well, trying Surfshark is a no-brainer. And if you use my code Sybert, you'll get 83% off a 24-month plan and 3 months extra. You can go to the link or scan the QR code. Big thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this stream. We have one more game to get to. We've seen some 1v1s. We've got to play around with the additional features that the new UI has brought, but we're now going to look at just a, what is this? I think this is an 8-player 2v2v2v2v2. It's a 4 sets of 2-player teams. So this is going to take me a little minute to get set up. And unfortunately, we won't have the in-game UI, but we do have at least one. The power is bugged when over 100. You mean like the power usage is bugged when it's over 100? Interesting. But I'll have to take a look at that because, yeah, like the 100 power max was displaying. But, oh, it overlaps. Oh, okay, yeah. Visually, I can see it. I tried to change the text display mode in OBS to be align right so that it would push the digits off to the left, and it didn't work. So I don't know what's up with that, but that's something that I can fix. That's pretty easy to fix in the display. I have to think about how much I want to spend time getting this set up. How long do we want to wait until the next game? Because I got the game, but it's going to take me a minute if I actually build out the full scoreboard, because it is an 8-player game. But thank you all very much for tuning in. We do have one more game at least to get to. We're going to try and get to 2 of our team games, but we might only get to 1 of them. All right, let me fill this out. Eight players is so annoying to set up. I gotta stretch out. I use WordPad to set up, like, whoever's playing in the game. I use WordPad to keep track of, like, their names and their colors and all of that. But every time I do something like this, I'm just so jealous of all of the all of the StarCraft 2 and all of the people who play games that have all of this done automatically and it's just there on the in-game UI. It's like, oh yeah, I have to type this out like it's the 1400s. Oh, there's a double Reaper 17 team. That's kind of interesting. This is somewhat of a rematch. Hopefully it is a action-packed, fast and furious map, but we'll see. Some of you may remember a viewer sent in like an 81-minute game that I casted, I don't know, a month or two ago. And this is apparently like the follow-up to that. And it's like that 81-minute game. It was, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like some kind of brilliant game. It had a lot of action. It had a lot of spectacle. But it definitely did drag at the end. So hopefully this one does not drag, because we wouldn't want the first team game. After like 3 really pretty tight, I don't know about that first one, but 3 pretty tight back and forth 1v1s, it would be no good if the first team game was just like boring and super long. But we'll see. All right, I gotta think of how I wanna do this. I prepped all of the 1v1 stuff because that was all of the stuff that I was worried about. Like, that's all of the stuff that has the secondary, like the memory scanner working, that has all of this other stuff that has to go along with it. All of these, like, text files that OBS is reading. And now I just have to prep this more simple UI, but with 8 players on it. Looks like everyone has been enjoying the games. Yeah, those were 3 good games. So really, really glad that all of the games worked out with all of the players, and that, you know, it wasn't like one of the games was a 3-minute bash or something. They worked out. You know, Drive had a not the best game, but Drive had a pretty fun build with the MRTs. And then, of course, the other 2 were very close between the 2 players. All right. Ooh, gonna have to try and... Let's see. Oh, it's gonna work. Yeah, it'll just take me a minute to get this set up, but no, this is going to work. Oh no, I didn't want to enable that. I'm sorry. Okay. Also, I just remembered the maintenance guy is coming to the house. Our kitchen light is flickering. There's like a short or something in like above one of our kitchen lights. And I mean, if he has to turn the breaker off, it shouldn't affect me. But it just occurred to me, like, oh, if he flips the wrong switch, then the stream may disappear. But that is certainly not the plan. And we'll see what we can get going for you guys very soon here. I'm just working away on this in-game overlay so that it actually looks okay. Oh no, that guy's name is not Onion. I just typed out Onion, but that's not actually his name. All right, that's half the players. I've got half the players all set up. All right. Are you guys ready for a 2v2v2v2, an 8-player duel setup here? 4 2-player teams playing it out on this massive map. What is the name of this map? We go from maximum information that a viewer has ever had watching a Kane's Wrath game to just the names. I guess it's not minimum, right? Minimum would be no names at all, but just the pure Kane's Wrath UI. But we're going from like almost kind of like maximum production value down to minimum. But, you know, I think we'll all survive. You guys know what it's like to see these big giant games, and it's always nice to have the scoreboard on screen so that you actually know who is who, and you don't have to just rely on me to always say their names. And hopefully, that'll make this viewing experience a little bit better. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We got 1 game left to go, and if we're really lucky, we got 2 games left to go. But unless this 8-player game resolves really quickly, this will be the last game of the day. We've seen 3 great 1v1s, and now we're jumping into an 8-player team up match. Rock'em sock'em, robots, fight 'em until they're dead. And let's see. Welcome to an 8-player map for our 2v2v2. Let's kick it off in the top left-hand corner. Moving his MCV immediately as the first team. This is Outlaw R1. His teammate as the orange nod. This is Galaxica. Scrin and Nod in the top right. We have got the Cyan Reaper 17. This is SirJohns. And the yellow marked of Kane also moving his MCV, it looks like. This is GLAPostalServis, returning from another 8-player game that we saw him in like a year ago. Meanwhile, in the south, going for the blue, going for the crane, this is Donald Trump. 1, 2, 3, 4. The green GDI as the pink nod. It's Baby Junior. That's our third team together. And our fourth team, the last players in this game, as the red GDI. This is Dzemi. His teammate, the blue nod, is SuperBuu. And that is it. Those are our 8 players. Hopefully this displays correctly. Hey, it does. Oh, no. I forgot to turn off all of this stuff. See, what did I tell you? House of Cards. This is all of the other numbers, which are just reading like 0. Oh, we forgot one. All right, there we go. Now it's fixed. All right, we got 8 names up on the scoreboard. They will not disappear or get grayed out as these players get defeated. This is just pure, unadulterated UI on top. And look at this. We have got 8 players going for the blue Tiberium. That kind of led to the beginning of the last time we saw this map being super fast and furious, just a big old chonky fight for like 20 minutes. And then things really slowed down. There's a lot of fields on this map. They're pretty good size. There's a lot of Tiberium regrowth potential, but as always, once you start harvesting up those fields and the game gets bigger and bigger, you got more surface area to worry about, you can get trapped in these cycles where, like, you're harvesting stuff, but you're building defenses, building units, and then immediately losing them. So after, like, 20 minutes of that, you've been harvesting all of the Tiberium on the map constantly, and neither team has anything left. But let's see. GLAPostalServis and SirJohns going to be moving from the north down to the south. A couple of descents are coming over to Baby Junior and Donald Trump. They might be able to grab a couple of harvesters here. Donald Trump going to be pulling them off the line, getting the massive crush with the double harvesters crossing as well. Meanwhile, on the left side of the map, it looks like bikes and buggies are going to be defending against Outlaw R1 and Galaxica there on the left side of the map. This is sort of turned into north versus south. There isn't a whole lot of east versus west going on just yet. EMP Control Center in the north has been grabbed by Galaxica, but in the south, no one has grabbed it just yet. In the east, it's unclaimed, or in the west, it's unclaimed, and so it is in the east. Unclaimed there as well. Tib spikes have been grabbed around the map. It looks like about 2 per player, and everyone has been able to safely secure their 2 Tib spikes in these opening minutes. Descents, bikes, geared up on the left side of the map. Low tech, but high damage output for these players. Couple of buggies moving forward. They're going to get grabbed. SuperBuu, maybe a little bit too far forward, but losing one buggy when you've got this blue Tiberium is not the end of the world. I feel like... Oh, no, he does have 2 war factories. Never mind. All right. He's got 2 war factories. No problems there. It does look like Donald Trump and Baby Junior have harvested a much bigger chunk of their blue Tiberium than SuperBuu and Dzemi. They're very slow on the blue Tiberium harvesting. These other teams are getting a lot more of that blue Tiberium a lot faster, and that Reaper 17 growth accelerator going to be keeping this blue Tiberium fresh for longer. Juggernauts are here as a radar jamming missile fires off. And that's going to be actually a decoy army. The Watchtower cleaning up a bunch of those decoy units one after the other. But Descents are going to be cleaning up the Tib spikes on the right side of the map. Meanwhile, on the left side of the map, it's going to be a Massacre bike buggy going against each other on our first ion cannon. Gets added into the mix. 7 minutes seems like a pretty short countdown when you're looking at this kind of a game. When you're looking at this many players and this big of a map. APCs roll over to the Descents. Only 1 Tib spike got cleaned up. It's annoying, but it's not the end of the world as we know it. Tech Lab, double War Factory on the front line for Galaxica. Double MCV as well, plus that EMP Control Center. Maybe there will be a big shot, but hitting that bike buggy is pretty difficult. And even if you hit the bike buggy right in the middle, you're only going to get about 1/3 of the bike buggy. Double Obelisk at the front line, but a Black Hand Squad sneaks in from Baby Junior over to Dzemi to burn down that Tib spike. Won't quite get the Tib spike, but will get a little bit of damage and call some units off of the front line. Obelisks are here, but the bike buggy might be the thing that really kills the harvesters of Dzemi. SuperBuu has the advantage of stealthed harvesters, but, well, that may not matter for very much longer as the bikes swoop in, clean up 2 harvesters very easily, and the obelisks are on top of this as well. Vein detonation, I think, firing off there, but no, it might have been somewhere else that was happening, as I thought I heard the sounds crackling in my ears. It wasn't anything. It was just these bikes and these seeker tanks slamming into the southern Nod GDI defenses. The blue Tiberium has not been taken, and the blue Tiberium will not be harvested. SuperBuu and Dzemi have lost out their opportunity, but will that catalyst missile actually find its mark? The chemical plant is here, but there's no catalyst missile just yet. The right side of the map has calmed down a little bit, but that's because the southern edge of the map has started to explode with action. Dzemi, while a force is brewing on his front lawn, starts picking a fight with his neighbor to the east. He's like, hey, the southern edge of this map seems kind of open and exposed. Meanwhile, there's a giant army bearing down right from the middle of his base. Hey, why don't you build one of those growth accelerators? You are a screen player after all. It seems like Galaxica is saying stasis chamber to save your own MCV. The beam cannons were going to burn it down, and it would have gotten knocked down if it hadn't been for that stasis to lock it away from the damage of his opponents. EMP on 2 beam cannons in a game with 8 players. It seems hilarious to see a EMP land on just 2 units like that, but in this case, it helps preserve that MCV for a little bit longer. It gives this Eradicator Hexapod a chance to move to the front line, and now we have our first double super weapon team. In the bottom right-hand corner, they believe super weapons will be their answer to the end of the world. The beam cannons are going to have to run from a phased Eradicator, as it is hoping to crush and do very little other than that. I think someone just called in a big ol' meteor for the tib field. Yes, they did. There we go. Spawning a little 3x3 Tiberium field. And Dzemi and SuperBuu, they have survived for now. They've got some obelisks, they've got some sonic emitters, and it looks like Dzemi is going to be able to take the middle of the map in the south. He might even be able to harvest away that entire field and make it his. Beam cannons burning down everything from the screen player. Outlawn getting pushed back up. I thought Outlawn and Galaxica were going to be able to keep this attack rolling, but they have faltered, they have slowed, and it is going to be a fight tight up in the north between the Scrin and Marked of Kane, and the Reaper 17 and Marked of Kane, the Scrin and the Nod. A similar fight between the 2 teams in the north, but it's not quite the same. Beam cannons, definitely a favorite in this modern day, and especially in today's set of games. We've seen beam cannons play a critical role in multiple games and now in multiple armies in the same game. Rage Gen fires off. SuperBuu and Dzemi are not going down without a fight. They say there is no way we're going to just leave this game, but it looks like they may actually be forced out of it by an accidental sandwich that's being created by Outlaw Galaxica, as well as Donald Trump and Baby Junior, all joining forces accidentally to squish the guys in the bottom left-hand corner. And that actually kind of means the folks in the top right have a ton of free space and free time, plus Ichor Seed and Seed Tiberium both being able to be called in. Dzemi, are you really going for Firehawk runs while your main base, your front door is being blasted down? You're going for Firehawk runs against the super weapons that won't be activated for at least 2 more minutes. That seems like you should have bigger fish to fry, but maybe he's just trying to help out the players who are going to survive in this game a little bit longer. Thinking, hey, maybe if I knock down these super weapons, maybe someone will come to my aid, come to my rescue. Going for the Corruptors. Okay, that's a play. He cleans up 2 Corruptors. If this game was a little bit different, those 2 Corruptor kills may actually be the start of something. Zone Troopers move in, but Zone Troopers get knocked out of the sky basically immediately. Orca Strike gets called in. We'll be able to tag the Corruptors as well. All right. Getting a little bit of damage done, but it does feel like spitting in the ocean. And the Mastermind caps the tier 3, but right as all of this big splash damage rains down into it, and suddenly it looks like we are in a 3-horse race. There are 6 players that are in a much better position than these 2 players in the bottom left-hand corner. Someone beaconing over here. I don't know, maybe hoping to Oh, this is the only team that can't open up a wormhole. Never mind. Hoping to do something over there on the other side of the map, but he's thinking maybe that's the spot for the ion cannon to fire off or something like that. Dzemi and SuperBuu are hoping. Oh, and the hammerheads go down again, but they are hoping to survive for the next couple of minutes. They have virtually nothing left. Galaxica and Outlaw R1 have swung down from the north. babyjunior and Donald Trump have fired off from the east, and that has just completely smashed SuperBuu and Dzemi. They're still technically in this game, not necessarily in a very practical sense. Okay. Some more beacons firing off as we got less than 15 seconds until this ion cannon is ready to go. This IC. SuperBuu has been defeated, so one of these teams of 2 is now a team of 1. And, well, I don't know. I guess we'll just stare at the mini-map and hope that one of the battle markers is the ion cannon firing off. Big Scrin Air Armadas, they were key to the last time we saw this game. Maybe not winning the game, but at least extending it out. And, man, these armies could be really devastated by a couple of super weapons. This is a lot of Vertigo bombers. Fresh Tiberium meteorite crashes down in the north. The ion cannon fires off, catches a big chunk of the army. Unfortunately, we did miss it as we're scrolling around the map. A minute and a half until the nuke fires off, and then the next 2 super weapons after that will be from the top right-hand corner. Dzemi and SuperBuu, our first team completely eliminated. Outlaw R1 and Galaxica now have the entire left side of the map, and I mean, if they can keep the left side of the map rolling, then they can take that entire quadrant of the map for themselves, and they can essentially have 2 teams worth of income. This is a lot of Predator tanks. That's a lot of railguns, but there is a ton of stuff from the team in the north. EMPs firing off perhaps a little bit early as this battle is only getting started, and those are Reaper tripods in massive numbers, supercharged with their green beams of death. Juggernauts hoping to survive this fight as the Rage Gen fires off, and the Marv says, oh, no, I'm not gonna fight that. You fight that. And every single tripod gets dismembered as the second EMP lands. The Vertigo bombers swing in to find their targets. Bombs will drop, and the GDI forces will be leveled, but it's not nearly enough as the Preds have cut down the force from the north. 20 seconds on the clock. That nuke couldn't come at a better time, because the follow-up to this attack is going to be so much stronger if there is a nuke packaged along with it from the team in the south. But we now have another dangerous situation. If Donald Trump and babyjunior move out to try and kill GLAPostalServis and SirJohns, they're going to leave themselves completely exposed to the potential firepower from the bottom left-hand corner of the map. There's so many husks on the ground, so many juggernauts, so many tripods just there waiting and ready to be captured. This double team of the Redeemer and the Marv seems like a pretty good combination when your opponents don't have any real units out on the field. Galaxica and Outlaw R1 taking over the entire left side of the map. They've now gotten so much free time to just build up, take over, and do anything that they want. And, well, for now, babyjunior and Donald Trump, they're going to keep this front line rolling. They're going to keep on attacking. They're bringing Spectres. They're bringing Venoms, Juggernauts, the Marv, Predator tanks, even a militant squad. Yeah, a militant squad is here as well. And they may not win this fight, but they're going to do some pretty critical damage to GLAPostalServis and SirJohns. No more sneaky deliveries for you. This Redeemer with the Flamer inside has done so much damage, burning through infrastructure, burning through infantry, and I guess that nuke is an insurance policy at this point, making sure that the team on the left side can't engage while the army is away from the homeland. Blue Tiberium regrowing pretty darn well for Donald Trump and Baby Junior. That means that they're going to be able to access a huge cash flow in the next minute or so to rebuild their army, to remax, and to get up to another viable army to be able to fight the team in on the left side. And it may actually turn into a big, massive right versus left kind of a fight. The Marv is still here, getting the repairs. This rig was a great idea to get the repairs to the Marv right on the front line. Venoms explode as the EMP lands. A last-ditch hope of desperation from the team in the north as they've got 2 super weapons almost ready to fire off, but they're just not there yet. Big move from the Reaper 17 player, moving out, looking for the catch. Won't find the EMP on many of these units due to their force fields, and it looks like the Redeemer will escape. The double vet Redeemer. Meanwhile, this Marv is looking to come in from behind and do big, big damage. Maybe earn himself a golden star. Maybe earn himself that last promotion to the heroic status. But the EMPs land. GLAPostalServis and SirJohns, they have been fighting this one out tooth and nail. They have got almost no units, almost no production, but they've got a couple of nukes, a couple of super weapons that they're maybe going to be using on these epic units. And I guess if you use them on the epic units, you still don't have much of an army. You still don't have much infrastructure to fight back with. Rift Generator is going to take down the husks, is going to take down the tripods, which have been reclaimed, which have been taken over. And the Rift Generator fires off the nuke mere moments away, but this is now a fully heroic Marv. This is now a double vet Redeemer, maybe about to go fully heroic as the EMP lands. And the nuke is ready to go. Everyone has super weapons, but not everyone is ready to fire. And the quad railgun Marv is extremely powerful, especially when heroic, but it doesn't have any anti-air, and it doesn't have any way to heal itself. The nuke is ready to go, and the timeline for utilizing that nuke is running short. All right, Outlaw Hour 1 and Galaxica, if they lose this game or they are not able to finish this one out quickly, it is going to be a testament to the other players. The nuke lands, it takes down the rig, but look how little a nuke does to a fully heroic Marv. That GDI firepower just will not be stopped. The EMP almost landing, but no, it doesn't catch the Redeemer. It's not quite there, and this is like the smartest thing. Oh, wow. Donald Trump has actually built an insane amount of slingshots, and he does have tungsten shells, so any Skrin Air Armada is going to be pretty quickly buzzed to death, blasted to bits, and sent off-world for another attempt later. Oh, this is so many... Oh, that's Bike Buggy. That is Bike Buggy swinging through the map. So many Venoms, laser capacitors. And yeah, this is the smart move. Like, oh, hey, we've got a little bit of breathing room. We've got a little bit of space. We killed the team on our side and no one's attacking us. Maybe we just sort of... Oh, Venoms! Venoms! Insane numbers of Venoms targeting down a heroic Marv, and... Are they even doing any damage? What is going on here? Nuke lands as well. The Venoms in crazy numbers, but doing hardly anything to a heroic Marv. It takes them so long to kill it. It will eventually go down. Donald Trump loses his Marv. EMP fired off. Slingshots heading to the north. The Venoms have long already done their damage. Oh, and the Bike Buggy combo disappears as this heroic Redeemer manages to hold off against, in theory, a much bigger number of units. But honestly, there's not many units left after that nuke lands and just cleans up a huge section of that Bike Buggy. Technically, GLAPostalServis is still in this game. Let's take Scott. Oh, he does actually have an MCV. Okay, MCV, couple of tib spikes as well. SirJohns did leave the game, but GLAPostalServis is still in this one. And I mean, the incredibly huge army that Outlaw and Galaxica have you know, the Nod player attacked in the north, but now this Skrin Air Armada is just being torn apart by this tungsten shell. I mean, the Eradicator Hexapod is nice, but these first couple of units are going to get burned down by those slingshots. Never mind, as the Stasis grabs almost every single slingshot here. How many escaped? 2, 5 in total escaped off to the right side of the map, and now this Air Armada is actually being supported by other units, and GLAPostalServis has a little bit of free time after being absolutely devastated by superweapon after superweapon after superweapon. GLAPostalServis now has some space to breathe. Every single slingshot goes down. The EMP fires off. Everything gets wasted. And, well, that is going to be the end of this high ground expansion, as it seems. A couple of Predator tanks moving forward. Couple of Predator tanks looking for the kill. Yamato Desu, yeah, is right. The GLA will rebuild. I mean, it's happened before in these big team games or FFAs or what have you. Sometimes that does end up happening. It feels like in this one, Outlaw R1 and Galaxica have so outstripped everyone else by such a huge margin that it's just impossible. Like, GLAPostalServis would have to take the entire right side of the map by himself and then be able to hold that for like 5 or 10 minutes before he even comes close to what Galaxica and Outlaw R1 have between the two of them. Rage Gen fires off. The nuke landed over on the right side, and hey, this is a fully heroic Redeemer, so it can do big damage. I mean, just watch it chunk down that Eradicator. Even with packs, even with Devastator warships, even with the Eradicator fighting back, that Redeemer is going to blast that Eradicator and just speed run it into death. But alas, the team on the left side have gotten a death grip, it seems like, on this game. There's so many harvesters built over the course of this game, so many refineries, and you definitely can get into a space with Tib Wars and Kane's Wrath where you've got a ton of harvesters, ton of units, and it does seem like the game engine doesn't always know what to do with them, and you'll see these weird situations where, you know, you'll just have harvesters camped out next to refineries, and you never told them not to stop harvesting, but it just seems like some bugs happen when you get massive, massive games. We may see that more and more. It looks like maybe that one harvester was just offline, like misclicked, because all of the other harvesters are working absolutely fine, but that is one of those things that you can see in these big, massive games. Slingshots coming in. They're trying to do battle with this Skrin army from Outlaw, but Outlaw has packed packs with tripods. He knows how to build a nice, balanced diet of ground and air. And, well, this isn't exactly balanced, but it's balanced enough that the slingshots won't be able to just come in here and waste the air units of the Skrin player. Meanwhile, Baby Junior's fully heroic Redeemer has been fighting the good fight, and it has eliminated 5, 6, maybe 7 tripods. There's at least 5 husks on the ground there. So at least 5 husks, or 5 tripods just got speed run by that, well, that once heroic Redeemer. And that will do it. Donald Trump and Baby Junior out of the game. GLAPostalServis is the only one remaining in this match. And as much as beam cannons are cool and obelisks are cool, I just don't think it's going to be enough. Outlaw R1, Galaxica going to be joining together in one last assault, and I think they're going to absolutely stomp everyone else on the map. Vertigo Bombers coming in. It's a cute move here, but ultimately it is not that big of a deal. Love to see Blue Shard Ravagers. I don't know if he actually meant to build those or if those were just the result of a building getting sold off, but you love to see it. Rift Generator exploding just about everything in the vicinity. The Tiberium goes down, the refinery goes down, the harvesters go down. And that must be the nail in the coffin. GLAPostalServis was already pretty dead in the water. His package delivery has been, you know, not doing too well. His whole package delivery service hasn't been too hot. Conyard getting targeted down. He does have another Conyard, but I don't think that's going to save him in this case. Goodbye, GLA Postal Service. You had a good run. He does still have 2 tib spikes. Oh, he does still actually have 4 tib spikes. But that will do it. GG gets called. Outlaw R1 and Galaxica will be able to take that 8-player game. Only 25 minutes. Okay. Pretty massive match, but only 25 minutes in total. And the last time we saw this map, it was, you know, like some pretty insane numbers on the board. I think one team had like 1.7 million, or maybe one player had like 1.7 million credits total harvested. And this one is much more casual. Although, no, Dzemi. Okay, no. I thought that was 811,000, but that's 81,000. That makes more sense. Yeah, most of these guys hanging around the like 200K mark. Dzemi and SuperBuu, not so much. But yeah, Team 1, 700,000 combined, and then everyone else pretty far behind that. And yeah, Team 1, the next closest team had half their income. Or no, Team 4. Look at that, 400,000. All right, a little bit more than half, but that's okay. All right, that will do it for this game. I think we actually do have time for one more match. It is, again, going to take a little bit of a minute to get everything set up with the scoreboard on the screen. But I think that was only a 25-minute game, so I actually feel pretty good about getting to our 5th game of the day, getting to the 5th match, and as long as this game isn't an hour long, it still won't ruin the schedule. We'll still have time to get everything done. By the way, big thanks to Surfshark for making this stream and VOD for you guys ad-free. I'm not going to be running any YouTube ads on this, so it'll just be pure gameplay. You guys don't have to worry about pop-up ads or mid-roll ads, nothing like that. But I think we are going to jump into one final game. This is on Rocktagon Nightmare. And it's an FFA, so it can, you know, it could go pretty crazy once again. But it's only 5 players in this game. Oh no. Oh no. The minimap for Rocktagon Nightmares is like dark blue / purple. And there is one player playing blue and one player playing purple. So this is going to be basically impossible to see who is who on the minimap. You might as well just give up now trying to see any of this stuff. All right, so it is going to take a minute for me to get the in-game UI up and running, just like with that last game, except for this one will be a little bit faster just because there are only 5 players in this game. Someone said I was saying Outlaw R1 wrong. What is it supposed to be? Outlawner? Outlawner 1? Or is NR1 something? It's like Outlaw and then NR1. I thought Outlaw was like, you know, he owns like a landscaping business. Maybe not. Maybe that's not what that's supposed to be. Ooh. I'm so glad that that Kane's Wrath did not crash during the first part of the stream. I would have had to have done all of that setup a second time, basically, just to get back to where I was before. Outlaw number 1. NR is short for number? Huh. Okay. Who decided that? Yeah, see? Yamato Desu, you got me. The lawn caretaker decided to farm those green crystals. Exactly. That's what my headcanon was for, like, what this guy made his name. Like, why is his name, you know, like he owns a lawn mowing business, but, you know. That's just what I thought. That's what I thought he was doing. He owned a landscaping business and living his best life. Oh, wow. One of these players' names is just James. Just James. Like, oh. I almost don't know what to do with that. James? Are you sure you didn't mean Jack Samgambam? That was a really good name I just made up. But James is such a normal name compared to... I mean, he does have a couple of numbers at the end, but that's not even that weird. FFA with 5 players on an 8-player map. So, gonna be some weird spawns on this one. But there's not quite a way to not have weird spawns. The spawns could have maybe been a little bit more evenly distributed than they are. Oh, we got some fun factions in this one. Some fan favorite factions that we don't necessarily see very often. Wow, I'm genuinely surprised we got to all 5 games today. Well, I guess it remains to be seen if we'll actually finish this last one, but I think we'll make it through. All right, there we go. Outlaw number 1. All right, if you guys say so. I think Outlaw R1 is funnier. Just Ray? Just James. All right. You know, for an 8-player game, that one wasn't that insane. Outlaw number 1. It was pretty straightforward. Thank you all very much for tuning in to the stream. Thank you for joining the broadcast. And of course, if you missed any part of it, well, the VOD will be available. It should be available immediately. There shouldn't be any delay on YouTube. It'll be public right away. Actually, no. I think YouTube might actually process it, so it might go down for a little bit and then come back. I don't remember how YouTube handles that. But I think it'll be up immediately. I think you guys will be able to watch it immediately. If you missed any part of the broadcast, you want to see the first couple of games, you want to see the additions to the in-game UI that I've been cooking up, that I've been working on. All right, that's it. We're all prepped. We're all ready to go. Game number 5 of 5. Big thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring today's stream, for giving me the time to be able to work on this stuff, and also for making the stream and VOD ad-free for all of you guys. If you want to check out surfshark.deals/Sybert, you can get 83% off plus 3 extra months for free. Always nice to have that. They got 24/7 customer support. They got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so nice and easy. But welcome to the nightmare. Welcome to Rocktagon Nightmare in a 5-player FFA. As the blue steel talons in the top left-hand side, this is Zen. Scrolling across the map past some empty spaces as the red Zocom, this is Smilycork. That's 2 of our 5 players. And now going around, continuing in a clockwise fashion, as the green screen, this is James. Just James. On the south side, in kind of the 6 o'clock position, as the purple screen, it's Outlaw number 1. Double engineer ready and waiting. And our 5th player in this FFA, as the orange Zocom, this is CERN. I assume he's the big particle accelerator, but, you know, maybe he's something else. And that is it. 5 players, 1 playing blue, 1 playing purple, which, as you can see on the minimap, is almost literally invisible. I mean, yeah, you can see them, but those 2 really blend in like yellow and orange on those desert maps. It definitely does give you an advantage in your opponents trying to look at the minimap against you. But I guess you could also lose track of your own units. If you don't have a good game sense of where they are, you could lose track of your own units, and that might be its own problem. And look at this. A couple of tip spikes getting grabbed, but these guys in the north, they got like tons of tip spikes to be able to grab. They can grab at least 2 each and then, you know, fight over the other ones. But 2 tip spikes right at the beginning, nice and easy. Lots of space for the 2 guys in the north. They've got a full base of buffer on each side of them. And, of course, when you have 5 players, it's going to be a bit of an awkward distribution. But in this case, Outlaw number 1 is kind of the one who ruins it, because if it wasn't for him, then everyone would have 1 space of space. And then it's like that 5th player, wherever they go, they're going to cause some problems. Although I guess you could group 2 here, and then 2 here, and then 1 there. And that would be like a little bit more of an even, but you'd still have 2 sets of 2, and then 1 guy by himself. So pretty much any way you slice it, 5 players on an 8-player map is going to end up in a little bit of an awkward situation. And, of course, we don't have the in-game chat on replay, so we don't know if these guys were talking to each other. There might have been a bit of a gentleman's agreement because of the randomness of the spawns that, like, hey, let's play this one out a little bit slower. Let's not just try and all in the guy to the right or to the left of us and hope that it works out. They might have been deciding to play this one out more for the mid or late game and then, you know, hope that they can win in that setting. But either way, it's a 5-player FFA. It's going to be getting pretty crazy. And Smilycork kind of late on the tip spike captures. They were grabbed a good bit faster by Zen Steel. MCV moving from the high ground down to the low ground. And it's going to be a couple of descents here for James, but he's not going hunting. He's not looking for any damage just yet. Engineer ready and waiting, but not actually going down to grab any tip spikes at the current moment. Looks like both of the tip spikes were taken away from Outlaw. He is not number 1 when it comes to tip spikes. Visceroid at the back of the base fighting it out with that buzzer, and the buzzer does lose that fight. The battle of the bunkers here as that building fights it out with that foxhole. Big thanks, Kingfisher, for the kind words. I have not been reading chat very much at all. I've been trying to read it in between games. It seems like people were really enjoying all of the matches, so that is always nice to see. But I've been doing a very bad job of reading the chat. Master Chief rates the chat 10 out of 10, but no, he rates it 11 out of 10. And I just, you know, I can't cast the game and watch the chat at the same time. Right now, I don't know if they put it together what the spawning locations are, but when they look back at the replay, the 3 people in the south are going to be like, oh, wow, we kind of really got shafted by these spawning locations. Now, unlike Rocktagon, where there is just a giant field in the middle, the very middle of this map has that ring of blue, but then also these bunkers that are like at, I don't know, 80% health or something. And then you also have these ridges, and I guess I didn't even notice the little pockets of water before, but little bits of ridges and water. I think some of this ground is traversable, so you can actually cross some of those little ranges of hills. But overall, it is very, very similar to the Rocktagon. Actually, I think all of these buildings at the front are different as well. I don't think those were on the original Rocktagon. Maybe some of these garrisonable structures out here, but I guess since it is supposed to be a red zone map, all of the buildings should be largely broken down and unable to be utilized for cover for the most part. I guess that's like the canon way of describing it. But it's kind of nice that there are differentiations between the maps, right? You've got like red zone, blue zone, and yellow zone? I'm suddenly blanking on what the middle, is it yellow or orange? I think it's yellow zones. Red zone, yellow zone, blue zone. I think that's it. I'm suddenly, you know, they talk about this in the campaign, but it's been a while since I played the campaign. I'm sure you guys do know. AP ammo finishes up for CERN. Gonna be able to blast down those walkers, and this is where the fight between the teams in the middle apparently gets pretty awkward. Yeah, the APC is traversing those little bumps and hills. Ooh, Descent's just getting absolutely lit up, and this is apparently the only fight on the map, despite the fact that this is 5 players in an FFA. The only fight that is happening out on the map is down there in the south. Although this Marv is about to pick a fight with a rifleman inside of a garrisonable structure. Lots of Seekers, lots of Descents for the #1 Outlaw, but his natural expansion, his hope for the future is not #1. As he goes into low power mode, his Descents are going to be rushing the front line. Photon Cannon gets deployed right at the front. APCs break it down, but they're going to back away to shred those Descents and take them down. And those are Harvesters auto-harvesting to their opponent's field, and as a result, they're just going to get blasted. Outlaw #1 doing fantastic in the last game, getting torn apart here in this game. 2 big, massive maps, 2 very different performances, but, you know, keep hope alive. Oh no, he's losing 2 more Harvesters. That's like, what, 4 or 5 Harvesters that have just gotten knocked down in the last minute for the #1 Outlaw in the game. He does have 3 Harvesters still out on the field, so he does definitely have a chance at keeping hold of this game, or maybe not keeping a hold of this game, but keeping himself in this game in a technical sense. CERN, who's playing Zocom, has decided mass APC is the way to go. Huge APC army over here on the left side, tearing down another Harvester, and then goes big APC numbers in the middle of the map, and also going for that Zone Shatterer as well. Any big squads of infantry will get torn apart by that Shatterer. 2 Marvs at least are out on the map from the Zocom and the Steel Talons players in the north, but not so much from CERN, who is up to tier 3, has a decent number of Harvesters, decent number of refineries, decent number of APCs, but no epic units under their control. 2 Tib Spikes under the control of CERN, but lots of space before he gets to his opponent's base. I do like the double refinery as he expands out. That's, of course, a smart move for James and CERN to try and do. When you spawn in this 3-man group, if you're one of the outside players, it seems pretty obvious to try and go to the base that's empty right next to you. And that's what both James and CERN have done. Concerned for James. Now that you bring it up in the chat, yeah, James has not moved to the middle. He has expanded out over here, but James feels a little bit slower on the uptake than the rest of these players. However, signal transmitter, and he's got the tier 3. He's got some upgrades cranking as well. So James maybe will be the sleeper agent who wormholes across the map and then drops a signal transmitter, drops a drone, a mothership, and just blasts everyone to bits. Marv on the way for CERN. He dropped the Reclamator Hub a little while ago. He's got his Space Command uplink as well, so, ooh, check out that. That's a pretty cool icon. There's a weird bug where sometimes his stuff will show up as pink, but I haven't seen that bug in a while. It might be a trigger for, or it might be triggered by something in a community-made map. But now I'm just clicking on stuff to see if I can get the pink to come back on someone else's units. All right. An FFA with lots of free time to just talk about anything and everything. CERN, who has blasted the #1 outlaw, is now going to be going toe-to-toe with some upgraded gunwalkers and some upgraded, well, just gunwalkers at this point. There may have been seeker tanks here earlier, but there are only gunwalkers here. And as long as the force fire is good enough, it should be a pretty easy job to blast down these, or the focus fire, not the force fire. Should be pretty easy to knock down those seeker tanks and gunwalkers. Not quite enough. Devastator warships lining up for the shots as well. And after 2.5, almost 3 hours of broadcast, suddenly I am dropping frames like crazy. Which is, you know, relatively few frames in total, but I just hit, like, I don't know, some kind of a hiccup or something. Not sure why. Devastator warships getting targeted down. Once again, not a lot of action happening on a map with 5 players and with a big field in the middle that kind of drives everyone together. Orbital bombardment going to be firing down on top of that signal transmitter. He wants to be able to take that down, and indeed, he might be able to seal the deal with that one-click. Meanwhile, he does still keep his... oh no, none of these harvesters are refining. Got to get some of them away from that refinery, send them somewhere else for a minute so that the parking lot can get unclogged. Yeah, that one-click takes down the signal transmitter there. Good enough with the orbital bombardment. And then, of course, you still have the shockwave artillery on backup in case you need that. Outlaw getting targeted down. James fighting for his life in the middle of the map. CERN going to be taking a lot of damage from his opponent's Marv. Zen is not looking to attack Smilycork, so that does mean that maybe CERN and Zen can have a little fight. See what's better, Steel Talons or Zocom. Although Zen is actually surrounded by both of the Zocom players. There's 2 Scrin players, and then there are 3 GDI players, but 2 Zocom and 1 Steel Talons. Ceramic armor hammerheads from Smilycork. It's the middle of the map. It's the Marv. Smilycork is just waiting this one out. He's expanded over to the left side a little bit. But it is a very passive game from basically everyone. Obviously, CERN has a ton of units, has a ton of APCs, but is not currently doing it. Oh, okay. This is something that people love to see it. A game crash from Kane's Wrath. Unfortunately for us, Kane's Wrath just crashed. And, well, we'll make one more attempt. We are gonna try and fast forward to get back into that game. A little bit of unfortunate there. My PC is overheating from base building. I've definitely recorded much bigger games than that in terms of action, like with way more stuff going on. So, I don't know that that is it. We're going to reload this replay. We'll give it one try, basically. Although, I do also know that sometimes custom community maps are not optimized, and so you can have like a really well optimized map with 8 players going insane building all kinds of stuff, and that's fine. The game runs fine, everything's fine. And then you have a not optimized map with, say, 5 players, and now the game is running sluggish. Things are having problems. Yeah, that literally, we just played that game where Outlaw #1 and his orange buddy took over the entire left side of the map, had insane amounts of stuff, and that was totally fine. But that was on the map Dead 8. But once again, thank you all very much for joining. This is the last game of the day, so if you're joining now, well, sorry, this is the end of the stream. Our final game, we're going to let it load, and then we're going to fast forward. But no one has been eliminated yet. No one has been killed off just yet. And also, I was running Kane's Wrath for a really long time before I even started streaming because I was getting everything set up for that in-game UI, or for the game overlay. So Kane's Wrath was running for a long time. And I mean, anyone who's played Kane's Wrath knows that the longer you run it, the more likely it is that you'll run into a crash. Oh, by the way, I did forget to mention, this game, 5 players, they're all playing random. We get 2 Scrin and 2 Zocom. Now, if you don't know, the RNG for when you select random, one of the things that it pulls is your system clock, your system time. So it could be that CERN and Smilycork are in the same time zone, and so they essentially got the same seed for the RNG to do its thing, to choose your faction. And then Outlaw and James might also be in the same time zone because they both ended up as Scrin. Or it's something else entirely, and that has nothing to do with it. But I do know that the RNG takes, at least part of the seed is your system time. And so that's one of the things that it uses to determine what faction you're going to use. It is not dropping frames in the transition. At least it shouldn't be. Well, let's see. No. No, it's not dropping frames. That was something that I actually fixed. Yeah, no, Kane's Wrath does not use a wall of lava lamps and a camera pointed at them to seed its RNG. All right, what are you guys' bets on who's going to win? Mr. T says CERN. Oh, no, you picked Smiley, but you were saying Mr. CERN was probably going to win? Mr. Smiley, Mr. CERN. Sniper APCs, that would be pretty good. James, just James. Master Chief and Revenge are all believing. Oh, everyone, okay. A lot of people are believing in James, the very normally named SimCity player James. The hero of the people. The one that people look to. All right, Mr. T goes with Smiley. Atticus says whoever had those mammoths. I think that was Zen. Yeah, that was Zen, because they had railguns. So Zen, the only Steel Talons player in the match, has had the mammoths. It would be cool if the mammoths won the game. It's been a long time since mammoths won a game. And I mean, like, really won it for sure. Yeah. Oh, wife Bert hanging out. I think on principle, we have to believe in James. He's got a simple name. He's got a simple strategy. Wife Bert showing up in the chat. All right, we're about halfway there to where we want to be. Outlaw is about to get spanked in the middle of the map by a bunch of APCs. Bum-ba-dum. All right, this is going to be our last chance to see this game. It'd be nice if we had a more precise fast forward feature in Kane's Wrath, but we don't. Would also be nice if we had a rewind feature so that we could actually back up a little bit. Yeah, it's not dropping any frames now. Like, obviously the game is lagging, but OBS isn't dropping any frames. OBS is reporting quite nicely, so we get to see some of the animations frozen in time. All right, where are we? Mammoth tanks. I think there were more mammoth tanks than that. We're getting close to where we were. Oh, double zone shatterer. I did miss that. I did miss that there were 2 of them. Oh. James hasn't lost his signal transmitter yet, so we at least got to go till we see that get eliminated. Oh, now we're dropping frames again. Yeah, I don't know. My, nothing is maxing out, like CPU, GPU-wise. Nothing is maxing out, so I'm not sure. No, there is fast forward, there's just no rewind. All right, let's see one more time. All right, we are approaching our point where we lost the game, where Kane's Wrath crashed out on us, where Kane's Wrath said, I can't take it anymore. I just need to lay down and sleep for a minute. All right, we are back in it. We're back into the game. These heavy harvesters are going everywhere, getting shot up by everyone, it seems. Shockwave artillery on both sides of this front. There it is for CERN, and Zen's is up there. James, the people are cheering for you. Outlaw number 1. Show us that you really are the number 1 outlaw, that there isn't a better outlaw. Mass APCs are here. Super massive APCs. Yeah, I mean, compared with that last game, the armies feel relatively small for like a 5-player FFA because Outlaw and his teammate just were doing absolutely insane numbers in that last match. Okay. All right. This is why I was missing some of these ceramic armor hammerheads. That is why. All right. APC's moving through the middle of the map. CERN is going to hope that he can try and blast someone down, that he can end one of these players and maybe give himself... What? Why are you force firing on the Mammoth Mark II? That is crashed and burned here. Why? I don't know. But for some reason, he has decided to. Harvester once again taking a beating. Zen's Harvesters just cannot catch a break. Every time they try to go anywhere, they just get blasted. I keep seeing all this blue on the mini-map. and I keep thinking that it's Zen, like moving an entire army through the middle of the map, and it's not. It's never anything. Ooh, the Eradicator Hexapod out on the map. Another epic unit is here. Packs and Devastator warships from James. Harvester from Outlaw number 1. All right, here we go. The ride of the APCs, always looking for their big fight, always looking for their moment to shine. And this is a lot of APCs, but there are shields, there are packs here as well. Maybe the shock troopers will make the difference, but as soon as the APCs can close the distance on those air units, they will be able to tear them apart. The Eradicator Hexapod, though, maybe not so much. Steel Talons also here in the middle with their railguns, with their Titans, and CERN might start fighting too many battles at once. He might kind of get his army torn apart, divided, and conquered by 2 different opponents, as his APCs on the right side are not supporting his fresh front line on the left side. Mammoths and Wolverines coming down from the high ground, Titans as well. And it's going to be Mass Titan, Mass Wolverine, Mass Mammoth versus a couple of Rocket Squads, some APCs, and a Marv. But Zen has a Marv, double rockets and engineers inside of the Marv as well. Firehawks coming in. Firehawks trying to escape, and Firehawks going to be landing as they return home from a bombing run. It looks like the APCs have come back across the middle of the map. They are going to get blasted by this orbital bombardment if they're not careful. Meanwhile, the Mammoth tanks getting caught up on each other, but as soon as they get in range of this Marv, they should be able to end it quite quickly. Did all of the Wolverines go down? I think they did, as this Marv is getting absolutely obliterated. CERN's Marv just gets destroyed by the strength of Steel Talons, but the APC rockets on the left side will keep the front line moving, and Zen's main base will be taken over. Oh, and now the Marv is left out in the rain. This Marv is getting absolutely blasted by a massive Zocom army, and that will be it for Zen if he cannot make his last stand work. Mass hammerheads on the right side of the map. I mean, anytime you see this many hammerheads, you got to be worried. But he's going up against a Skrin player, and Skrin anti-air is not really present. It is amazing, but it is not really here. There's a bunch of dead space as well in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. There is lots of Mammoth tanks in the top left-hand corner of the map. And now suddenly CERN is going to truly try and fight every person that he can. And these hammerheads are just going to hang out over there. They're just waiting for their moment, biding their time. Outlaw hoping everyone does forget about him as CERN re-engages with James. And meanwhile, his APC Rocket Squad army, it looks like, is going to get torn apart against these Railgun Titans and Mammoth tanks. This is a lot of rockets, so they will be able to clean up a good number of Mammoths, good number of Titans, but not those guys. Not those guys indeed. Tiberium field suits, not tank tread suits. They don't quite save you from that, as the frame rate will hit the floor just like those planetary assault carriers, and CERN will close in on James. Keep in mind, behind this, Smilycork has a backstab waiting for James. Oh no, never mind. Phase fires off. Phase will save the Eradicator Hexapod, but James's base isn't going to have much more beyond that. But there will be a bunch of Zocom hammerheads swinging through his base. This was apparently distraction force down there because they moved out of that corner. There's a little bit of red on the mini-map down there. And I thought that was those hammerheads. I'd completely lost track of them. But no, CERN is getting completely gutted. But the Firehawks come through. The Firehawks crashing the hammerhead party and burning them down. Bye-bye, hammerheads, as it looks like Smilycork is actually going to be coming to the rescue of almost everyone else in this game. And suddenly CERN is the one who's out first. If he comes back from this point, it will be pretty impressive. The Firehawks need to refuel. They need to rearm, but I don't think they will be given the opportunity. The hammerheads are just going to try and run away from those bulldogs as they get called in, and the pit bulls not here in good enough numbers to quickly chase down and eliminate those zone trooper hammerheads, those zone raider hammerheads. Rocket squads come out, pit bulls as well. Firehawks have not rearmed. I think the last MCV has gone down, and I think that is going to be it for CERN. No hope of rebuilding, no hope of coming back in this game. He can survive on what he already has, but he cannot build anything else, and that is because of Smilycork coming in with the ultimate backstab to crush CERN and knock him down. The Firehawks will go down one by one. Oh, these harvesters all stacked up in the parking lot outside of that refinery. And CERN is going to stay in this game, apparently. Like Outlaw, beaten back into a corner. Technically not dead, but you might as well be dead. I guess the Sonic Emitter can get a couple of more kills, and indeed it will. A couple of APCs exploding there. Or an APC and a Predator tank exploding. And, well, I think that's going to be it for CERN. Not much hope for that guy. He has like one rifleman squad, and that is pretty much it. Smilycork looking pretty good now with the ultimate backstab of those hammerheads. It's hard to tell you how much Zen Steel has in this game, but Smilycork definitely has a lot, and you can see a lot of that on the mini-map. Oh, man. CERN defending his base with rocket harvesters. Hey, I guess rocket harvesters can technically win you the game, but not in a practical sense. Smilycork moving out. CERN with a massive advantage earlier, but not enough to finish it out. And once again, we don't actually have the in-game chat where these guys may be talking to each other and discussing the game. Buildings getting targeted down one by one. CERN is not giving up. Indeed, CERN is fighting it out, getting another Zone Raider Hammerhead kill. And, well, these last couple of buildings are going to be the only thing that he has. He does have an EMP control center, so in theory he could kill off these hammerheads, but I think that's going to be the end of the road, as CERN will be the first one out of the game. It's not Outlaw that's the first one out of the game. It's not James the first one out of the game. It's actually CERN, who fought almost everyone on every side of him, fighting almost every... Oh, he did. He fought every player on the map for at least some portion of the game. And now Outlaw and James are just kind of hanging out in the southern edge of the map. They're just like, nobody look at us, nobody fight us, just leave us alone. Let's just play SimCity down here. Yeah, Master Chief, he certainly won't survive. It's a stretch, but you got there anyways. Eradicator Hexpod gets eradicated, and that will be the end of that epic unit from the Scrin player, but it may also be the end of the main base and the middle of the map expansion from Smilycork. He is going to have to call in all retreat as James has been defeated. James, who withstood all of those attacks, loses his Eradicator, and now is going to be dropping out of the game. Mammoth tanks and Titans will make short work of these buildings, but they may not actually be able to survive this massive army. They actually may not need to. Oh no, there is an MCV over here. Never mind. Smilycork can survive this. If only Zen knew this. Zen would be able to actually take down that MCV by splitting off a couple of units and then just run down these last couple of units. But Smilycork has the MCV hidden off on the left side, and this massive army is going to be able to deal with anything that Zen has. So Smilycork becoming the dominant player in this game by a huge margin. James is gone. Zen is selling off from the middle of the map. Zen has been defeated. And Smilycork versus Outlaw. The two giants in this game, apparently. As Smilycork has a giant army, has everything that you could ask for of a Zocom player. I guess except a huge amount of hammerheads. That's the one thing that Smilycork doesn't have, is a giant hammerhead army that he can just fly around the map and crush everything with. APCs, Predator tanks. Of course, no late-game upgrades for those Preds. Couple of tripods. Outlaw has really not had much money to work with. Maybe he could have tried to kill off James and take over James's base like 5 minutes ago. Maybe. But without the middle of the map, without access to all of those fields in the middle of the map, it's a pretty tough fight to have. All right, the APC army is moving up. This tripod will be able to mount a little bit of a defense. There's a signal transmitter here. If he managed to escape, EMP lands, locks down a bunch of units, but it's 3 Devastator, it's 3 Dev tanks, Devourer tanks, and a tripod against all of this Zocom firepower, and I just don't think it'll happen. If the MCV had, like, moved over there, and he had called in the mothership, he might have been able to do one last-ditch attempt to knock down this entire army and kill off Smilycork, but I don't think that will happen. Outlaw is still in this game. Outlaw is not leaving, but yeah, I think he's out of this game as he has maybe 1 power plant left, and that is going to be pretty much it. 1 power plant left. There we go. Okay, everything turns. Smilycork realizes, but that will be the GG. That will be the end of the game. He even called in the Orca Strike just to make sure that it goes down. And that is it. Thank you all very much for watching today's subscriber replay showcase. We got to see some new UI stuff. We got to see some team games as well. We got to see some big action from these matches. Some really tight matches, some close ones as well. Thank you all very much for watching. Big thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring today's stream, giving me the opportunity to work on these projects. And this is Sybert signing out.